Hey, Bill, can you hear me okay?
Hello.
Hello, I'm here. Megan. Is Beth on the line yet?
I don't see her.
No, I was just talking to her, so she's going to be popping in here shortly. So,
Okay.
Gerald. Michael, Matt. Okay.
Catherine, just so you know, Kay Olson is with Infomark. She's a new account manager that just started with us Monday.
Okay. Is she going to be helping while Mackenzie's on maternity leave?
Possibly.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Gerald, are you like 8381 or 7222?
8381, and I don't have any comments. I'm just going to listen tonight. Thank you.
Okay. So whoever's the last four digits of 7222, would you identify yourself, please? Okay, well, why don't I just start at the top and they'll pop in. Tina, Flores, did you have any public comments or comment on an agenda item?
No, not tonight.
Okay, Sherry Johnson, did you have public comment or comment on an agenda item?
No, thank you.
Okay, Usha Devi, did you have a public comment or comment on an agenda item?
No, thank you.
David Flores, did you have a public comment or a comment on an agenda item?
Not tonight.
Okay. Matt Whittington, did you have a public comment or a comment on an agenda item?
Not tonight.
Okay, so I'm coming back to the person whose last four digits are 7222. Could you identify yourself, please? Okay. Okay, so Beth isn't on the line yet, but I know that she was in the process, so she's going to just be popping in here any moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and.
I'm on.
Oh, you're there.
I'm on.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. She's the 7222.
Oh, you're the 7222. Okay. How come I can't get? There we go. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any agenda or any public comments tonight. So I'll go ahead and close agenda item number 1. And I'm going to move to agenda item number 2, which is report from the district manager and affected persons. Okay, number 1, or number 2A, I should say. Review and payment of any unresolved invoices and approve and release of checks being withheld or in process. And if I remember correctly, we had a couple checks that were being held. Have we resolved those issues? I guess I'm going to send this, bring Christy in. Christy, what's going on with that? And Michael left. Are you on the line?
Michael's
Yeah,
on,
I'm here.
and those credit memos were issued today. So I can show you the credit memos. They've been approved by Todd. So I think we're good to go.
Yeah, and let me go ahead and share the payment schedule. Basically, there were two checks that we had questions about. The Verdunity, we got the check 36331 for 2000. We got an updated invoice that showed the correct amount, and so we're getting that paid. And then on Infomark, invoice number 1133211. Two of the issues were involving work orders where some services were charged that shouldn't have been for a truck and a person, basically, and I think that's both cases. On work order 2515677, 2328 has been credited off. And on work order 2531819, the full amount of 5370 was credited off. And so those were the two credit memos that we worked on. And that makes the total on that check $11,474.40. And then so a total amount of $13,474.40. And I paid these out of the manager's account, so we don't have to circulate them for signatures, but wanted to make sure that, you guys saw this and approve it before we release them. And then also wanted to note that these will show up on the payment register at the regular board meeting next month. We always run the entire period from after the last board meeting through that, the regular board meeting, so that you capture all the activity. So this will be, you'll see these again, but
right.
Just want to make that clear.
Okay, so Bill, even though these are going through the manager's account, are you going to recommend that we?
Catherine, I'm sorry, I muted you by accident. Please unmute.
Okay, I'm talking.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm gonna recommend a motion, just so it's in the minutes.
Okay. Well, then I move that we approve check 6330 and checks 6331 in the amount of $13,474.40 from the manager's account. Could I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion? Okay. Well, then I will go ahead and call the vote.
I do. Wait, hold on.
Okay, that's
Michael,
fine.
real quick, are those the only two corrections I had on that Infomark invoice?
Those were the two that we knew, that Christy had agreed needed to come off. I believe there was one more where you had thought that it was not in the, that there was something, Bill, that should not have been. And Christy said that she would be researching that, going back to verify that, but it was her understanding that it was a legitimate charge.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Linda?
I'm going to abstain until I have an opportunity to review the invoice and the corrections to see what didn't get corrected.
Okay. Art?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes too. Okay. Oh, good. You stopped sharing.
Yes. And do you need me for anything else? Because I'm here. I'm ready to hang in if you need me. But
I don't know the answer to that. Christy, do you know the answer to that?
I don't think we do. I think you
Okay.
can go enjoy your evening, Michael.
all right.
Okay.
And Christy, I'll keep, you can message me if it turns out I need to pop back in
Will do. Thank
or
you.
ask me a question. All right. Have a good day. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
2B is review of memorandum for district billing audits performed by third party hired by Infomark. And I think this is you, Christy.
It is. It is. So you'll see in your packet to be the memo that summarizes the audit that we did. If you recall, about 4 months or so ago, there was some questions like every month about our invoicing and the contract. So Linda had mentioned that she wanted 3 years worth or so of data to go back and do an audit. And I recommended that we do a internal audit and supply the results to you. And so basically that's what we're doing here. Before I start going through the memo, I just wanted to point out that the person that did the audit for us, our internal audit, was someone that we just hired specifically to do the audit. So she was hired just to do this audit. This was her first assignment. So she didn't know really anything. She came in I guess, brand new to it, read the contract, reviewed our billing system, and completed the audit. So basically, she's very biased to it. The majority of the issues that we found there was three things. One, some of it was sales tax, where we had sales tax on a subcontractor invoice that we needed to remove. We also found that for a short amount of time in our billing system, the markup was at 20%, which it should have been at 15%. So we found some errors there. And then the last thing, really, at the end of this audit, you're going to see that it kind of goes both ways. We found some discrepancies on where we owe the district money, and we found discrepancies where the district would have owed Infomark. And at the end of the day, after going through all the 12 months full year audit, at the end, we have a variance, I believe, of $141, where it's in the amount of the district owes Infomark $140.92. So with that being said, we can go to the memo. And this reviews the period during October, from October 2019 to September 2020. And as you can see here, you guys probably have already read through it. Summary, so basically our contract, we have an annual maintenance and repair services. So there's three categories to our contract. One is the base fee that covers your dedicated staff. And then you have the maintenance cap that we track throughout the year. And then you have additional services. So under your base fee, you've got a general manager, you're paying 40% of a GM. You're paying 100% of your administrative assistant, 30% for accounting, and 50% for a field coordinator. So she went through and looked at each category and the percentage here and the specific task that they do, and made sure that we were not charging for any of that dedicated staff. On the additional billables, this is where a lot of that tax came into play, where we purchased supplies or parts, like let's say from Home Depot, and we didn't give them the tax exemption form and they charged tax on the receipt. Most of them we catch through the audit process, some of them slip through. So we'll find some of those. And then you'll notice too, per the scope of our contract, the additional billable that does not fall under the base fee or the maintenance cap. Most of those activity types are the lift station, maintenance park, maintenance sewer, maintenance water, detention pond, stormwater, and of course you don't have a treatment plant or a water plant, so those two don't really come into play. Let's see, so if we go down to, I guess, the maintenance cap, if you follow along, I don't know if you want me to share my screen or not.
Go ahead, share your screen.
Okay, we can share. Okay, so here's the maintenance cap and the testing that was performed. So I'm going down to the review of the annual maintenance cap from October 19 to September 20. The work order detail was extracted from our work order system. We verified the cost of the materials. If materials were taken from district inventory, we noted that. We checked basically everything through the contract and through the work order system, which prices out the inventory and the items purchased. We verified the labor charge on each work order, the resource usage to determine if it was dedicated staff or somebody else. We also looked at hours worked outside of the 7:30 to 4. We confirmed the employees' rates, also the overtime rates. recalculated total charge for each line item, and all employees that are no charge for the work order, and confirmed that they were dedicated employees per the contract. Investigated all variances, verified equipment charged and the rates charged per the contracts. And then on the additional billables, we summarized areas and identified on the final tab, which I have the backup, and I'll send that to you guys. All the errors that we found in there, which again, were relatively small. Did the same thing on the maintenance cap. So the results on the additional billable came out to, after testing everything, the additional billable resulted in amount owed to the client by Infomark of $58.07. On the maintenance cap, after all the testing was done, the result is an amount owed by the client to Infomark of $198.99. I wasn't going to go into all the detail at this meeting, just really go over the summary of what we did, how we tested everything, and what the end result was. But there are files and files and files of backup that I figured I would send over to Bill Flickinger's office. He could then send out to the board members to review. And then if there's any questions, I would ask that they just reach out to me and we could set up a time to discuss those questions and go over the details.
Christy, do you, okay, so we're looking at, a really small amount of money, it doesn't matter who owes what, who, it's just a really small amount of money. So $198.99 based on how much money for the entire contract for that contract year?
You're looking at this contract year, probably, I don't have the number off the top of my head. I don't believe it's in here. I have it in the backup, but I want to say, hold on just a second.
It's over $500,000 though, isn't it?
It's over $1 million.
Oh, it's over $1 million. Okay, well, that's even, so the question is, 0.000000000 something. To me, this looks like a successful audit.
Catherine,
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you. Number one, because the person being audited performed the audit, and no one denied that the amount charged on the Infomark work orders calculate correctly. We knew that they did. That's never been in question. What was in question was the appropriateness of the charges. Are the charges correct? Are they reasonable? Were they approved, and are they already covered under the base fee? I've been able to demonstrate for the past 3 months that the district has been erroneously billed for full-time employees and their vehicles that we already pay for in the base fee. We've been billed for tools necessary in the performance of the contracted services and billed for work that is included in the base fee. That was the concern I brought to the board, and that was the concern that led to my motion to hire a forensic accountant to look over Infomark's billing. Those types of errors would not be evident in a spreadsheet. To see those errors, you'd have to read the activity description against the field notes, the time of day, the person performing the work. You'd also have to know that the 8-hour-a-day park technician, which the third party doesn't even identify as a resource in our contract, changes from time to time. Phil, Scott, Mackenzie's husband, they have all performed the full-time tech role in the district for days on end. You can't see that type of information in a sampling of data, and certainly not in a spreadsheet. Another reoccurring failure in these work orders is creating an activity description that does not exist, performed by an Infomark employee who then bills for it. It is not true, as the third party suggests, that all non-standardized services that are considered an additional billable can be found within the contract. Third party cannot know that using our 100% customer service tech or the 40% general manager to pay utility bills and invoices is already covered in our accounting contract. We pay Infomark's accounting services to pay the bills and invoices. And because it's not being performed by accounting, we are paying an additional 15% overhead charge on top of the invoice for the 100% support person or the 40% general manager to use a credit card to pay those bills. The third party failed to recognize the 100% parks and maintenance tech. It also failed to acknowledge the 15% overhead on professional services and outside contractors, not just materials, as the memo states. Picking
Okay,
up
so
bills for
I
committee
read
and board meetings is not covered. I found over $4,000 worth of errors in just the additional services invoices for 1 year, and I don't have any receipts to go by. That's just based on what's written in the work order. So Christy, I appreciate that you've put forth this effort, and I would love to sit with you and show you what I found, and you tell me what I'm looking at wrong. Because I've been looking at your invoices for 7 months now, and there hasn't been a month yet where I have not found bona fide, legitimate mistakes that were credited back. So we know they exist. What we need now is for you to acknowledge where they are. And I can identify, I've written down every single one on all the invoices I've been given that supposedly your third party was looking at alongside with me. And like I said, in one category, over $4,000 of billing mistakes. For the park tech to install meters, we paid for his time. We paid for his vehicle, and he worked during normal business hours. That's covered in our base fee. So there are more mistakes than that. And I appreciate that you tried, but that is not successful. That audit is not successful compared to what I have found. And although I am not an accountant, I can read your invoices very well now after 7 months. And I have found repeated errors that I've been finding and that are credited on the last 3 months of invoices. So when is a good time for you? Let's you and I look at this together and then bring it back to the board.
Okay, well, Linda, I'm going to tell you, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and
Me included. Me included.
Yes, we generate multiple invoices and track multiple items. This contract is not the easiest contract because, like you said, and is what's explained in the memo, there's 3 different categories. There's a lot of complexity that goes with every task that we do. There's a lot of backup that we have. And again, mistakes are made and hopefully we catch them all. The point in doing this internal audit was that the district would save money by hiring a third party forensic auditor to come in. Would probably charge you $10,000, $15,000 to do an audit like this. So at least it's a good start. What I would ask is the notes that you have and the $4,000 that you have found that was billed incorrectly. If you would send those to me, I will send those to our auditor and have them verify what you have found. And then we'll go from there.
I can do that.
Okay, I think I want to just say, I feel as though I am working with a trusted partner with Infomark. And if we have issues that need to be resolved, we will work through those. But I personally have a high level of trust that they are doing a good job for the district and the taxpayers of our MUD. Anybody else have any comment?
I will send you my notes.
I would agree. I would agree because I think they do more than what they actually charge for.
Okay, so I don't think there isn't any additional follow-up on this agenda item. Okay, but we're still not done. Agenda item 2C, delinquencies, terminations of service, payment plans, and information to customers regarding, just as options. I'm assuming it's payment options. So, and I'm assuming this is about, we are going to start red tagging with the next invoicing billing cycle. Does Infomark have any, they were going to present to us, you know, what our receivables look like and what was going to, how many people we were still had issues with needing payment plans, et cetera, et cetera?
I believe you guys received an email of the delinquent list.
Yeah, actually, there's,
Yes,
it's in two
we did.
formats. Yeah, it's in two formats, sorted differently. Allison sent those out earlier today. We didn't put it in the packet because it's confidential customer information.
Okay, so, okay. So at this point, can somebody talk about what the high level is? How many accounts do we have that have not set up a payment plan? And if nothing happens, if nobody else, approaches us, how many red tags are we anticipating hanging next month? I'm hoping the number is going to go down significantly.
Actually, our number did go down. I don't have the information on the payment plans, but I can tell you that the delinquent tags that we got in was much lower. Lee, I don't remember, was it like around 68?
Oh,
Currently, we have 84 delinquent accounts that aren't on payment plans,
okay.
but it has gone down significantly from what we had before.
That's like half, isn't it? Okay. And
Yes.
that number actually wasn't that much higher than average pre-COVID, if I remember correctly, because you hang a lot of tags, but you rarely you didn't really turn that many meters off. You didn't have that many disconnects because people hurried up and got caught up.
Which leads to a question. How many months late are they before their water is turned off?
So once the bill goes out, let's say the bill due date, we're just going to be hypothetical here, is the 1st. 5 days after the 1st, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong here, but 5 days after, we send out a delinquent letter. And then that letter then starts the time clock. That letter says that your payment will be due on such and such dates, and you will be disconnected on such and such dates. So that starts the time clock on it. So pretty much people go into delinquent status around 45 days.
And cut off then at 45 days or after?
The whole process takes almost 2 months before they get to the actual cut date.
So about 60 days.
Yes, ma'am.
The spreadsheet that we got, and thank you whoever sorted it in the order of least delinquent. This column of 120 days delinquent, does that mean they have made absolutely no payment in 120 days or just not the full amount?
It's not the full amount, which this district, again, is a little different than all of the other districts that we manage, to where we have some deed restrictions on some of these accounts, and we need clarification because some of these accounts that have over 120 days or even 90 days have deed restriction fines. So there's a whole procedure that we go through on those ones.
And I thought, Catherine, for this right after COVID catch-up period, it was going to be just people who were delinquent on water, payments of water. Did I miss it?
I agree with that. But if you haven't made, I don't care what, and Bill, maybe you need to jump in here and the rest of the board, but I know that we have some accounts that might have fines on them, and they are way more than 90 days behind in having made any kind of payment.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because I'm remembering the family on Melba Pass and how you said they haven't paid in forever and ever.
Yeah.
And not just water, but here's the deal. They're on this list and their grand total balance is $611. And do you know?
Whoa. Listen, I'm gonna ask a question. I thought that these are confidential.
Yeah,
Why are we saying how much it is?
I'm not giving names or addresses, just
no, you just did. You used their street.
Melba Pass, that's not their address.
Okay.
They come up every month at the BRC meeting. But here's my point. The basic service fee and the fire protection fee together are $50 a month. If this family hadn't paid just those two fees for a full year, that bill would be $600. For a balance of $611.50, they've obviously been paying something. And you said they hadn't paid anything in over a year, and that's not true. That can't be true, or their balance would be thousands of dollars, or at least $8,000.
Okay, so how many accounts that do we have that are in arrears have fines on them?
And I don't know that I have that answer for you right now, but I think that we can get it for you. So out of the 84, how many of those have fines?
Yeah.
I'll have to get that for you. I'd have to go through each one of these accounts to find out which ones have fines. So it's gonna take a little bit of time.
and here I'm gonna need some, the rest of the board to, speak up here. Is I know that we have a very small subset of accounts that have not paid anything at all for more than, I'll just say 90 days. And I'm looking at somebody who hasn't paid anything in 90 days. I don't care what your fine status is. You gotta reach out to us, set up a payment plan. Everybody has got to pay the freight. They've got to pay their base service fee. They got to pay their water and sewer. If you're fighting with us about fines, that's fine. In the end, I'll repeat myself, it's all about compliance, but do not think that you can decide that you're going to let your neighbors carry the freight for your water and sewer, your fire department, your basic service fee, your trash. That is not the way we operate. Because if you don't pay your base service fee, you dial 911, the ambulance is still coming. Waste management is coming every week, whether you pay your bill or not, and that is just not fair to your neighbors.
Agree 110%.
Yes.
We can't tell that information from the data we receive. We can't see who's paying and who's not, or what they're paying and what they're not. We really can't tell from this data.
Well, I can tell you, I did a little bit of research in the background here, and I think there's less than 10 accounts out of the 89 that have deed restriction fines on them.
And for me, the real issue is, just set up the payment plan. And, we've been very generous. Normally, correct me, Christy, payment plans, usually when we did that, it was 6 months. And I know that in the past, we've said, you know what? If you've got a large bill because of the pandemic, we're willing to have a payment plan that extends longer. We just want you to take responsibility, pay your water, pay your sewer, and come back to current. That's really all I care about.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut
Go ahead.
you off. Here's the thing. I know that out of these 89, I don't believe the cut date is until July 10th, somewhere around there is actually going to be disconnected. So this number may come down by then, particularly when we hang the red tags at least 3 days before we do the disconnect. So I'm hoping that this number is much less than what we're looking at today. But at some point, you got to go back to your regular process, and your regular process is disconnect. And when they get disconnected, they contact us, and that's when we offer up a payment plan. If you think they're going to put a payment plan, hopefully they call us before they get disconnected.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, sometimes that's the only way that you can get them to reach out to us and get on a payment plan.
That's a good point. Catherine, that's a good process. If they get disconnected, they're going to want some relief. So that's when the payment plan kicks in. So whatever we have here, we need to get but they are some people that strictly have an outstanding water bill, not fines.
Right.
Exactly. And we need to see who has not paid their water bill at all for, Catherine says 90 days. That's a fair number. 90 days. Who has not paid at all 90 days or greater? That needs to be the people that you go after first. Those are the people that you need to communicate with. What's the deal? You've gone
If I
3 months
recall
without
correctly,
paying bills.
weren't we gonna reach out and find the ones that had those outstanding water bills and try to put them on a payment plan? We had a couple of examples. I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
mention them here.
you can go to the oldest, but there's a process in place. There's a process in place that we do for 200 MUDs across the state of Texas, and it goes off of your rate order. Your rate order says, this is what we're gonna do, and that's how your billing is set up. So if you're asking that we reach out to 89 people to see if they want to set up a payment plan, that's something that's not in the scope of our daily services.
Yeah,
I don't
and I
think we
know
need to do that. I think the trigger, Christie, is when we cut off their water, when we send them a notice saying their water's gonna be cut off.
Notice will be sent out, and or it may have already been sent out, and we'll do the tag 3 days before we disconnect, like we've done prior to COVID.
Well, I would like to know how many successful payment plans your Houston office was able to acquire for us. They made phone calls last month and the month before on our behalf, trying to get people to take a payment plan. I'd like to know how successful that was. And I really need to know how many people have not paid a dime in 90 days or greater. Not that you shouldn't follow your process, but this whole thing started because there was accusations of people paying nothing at all.
Yes,
Nothing.
yes,
And
yes.
that's a problem. I agree, Catherine, that we need to address. We need to find a way to fix that problem. But this, the data we have does not answer that question. Who has not paid at all anything in 90 days? That's what we need to know. And then, of course, go about
I think that, Linda, I think that's a great idea, but I don't know any business or any credit card or any mortgage company that's going to let you go that many months and have that high of bills and not have consequences. And I think cutting them off on their water at this point for how high these bills are is what is needed. I mean, it's not fun, but it's the consequences that happen, and we have been so lenient.
Can we try something? If you look at this list, at the bottom of the list, most of the people that, I guess it would be about it's about 10 to 20 people that are over $1,000. Why can't we start there? Research those individual cases and say, okay, what's the deal here?
There are 17 accounts over $1,000, and some of those I recognize as being fines. So if we're gonna tackle the problem, what's the problem? The problem is people not paying for their water and their services. That's the problem we're tackling coming out of COVID. We don't know that everybody's righted themselves. So we have an opportunity to do a kind thing. Let's tackle the problem where it exists first. Those people who are using services and not paying anything at all, anything, those are the ones we should address first. All of them should get the notice. All of them should get the red tag.
Yes.
That's how you start a process.
But Linda, they haven't contacted us, and we've asked them over and over to contact, and they haven't done it. So that's how they get red tagged. That's the only way we can get them to
Well,
get
then
their
that's the
attention
process.
to
I think
call
that's a good process.
I don't
I mean,
deny
if I
that.
get red tagged, I'm gonna try to fix it.
I
right?
don't
And
deny
if I
that.
get on a
Right.
payment plan,
I agree. I would
I
call.
mean, looking at the bottom 5 or 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
17.
6, they're over $2,000. I mean, let's start there and say, okay, what is the issue?
That is not water, Art. Those are deed enforcement fines. That is not failure to pay water.
No, it's both, isn't it? It's current bill and bills in arrear.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the current bill is water.
Here's what I would.
Water. And you can't see if they made a payment at all. You can't see if they paid for that water. What you can see is there's a balance on the account. And I recognize names. I know 2 for certain are fines.
Okay, there was
Can we make a motion that anything over 250 that we will put a red tag on and see if we can get these people to call us?
I think the process already dictates how you red tag a door, and that should not change. That should not change. What I'm
Okay, so-
asking to know is how many of these people on this list have paid nothing at all for 90 days or more and are in arrears for water?
Water only?
Water only.
Yeah, so Lee, I think it was last month, you sent out a report that was basically showing the balance, and then it was showing the last payment paid. And it was also telling us if they had fines. Can you put that same report together again?
I can, it'll take me some time to get through it.
Okay, well, hopefully, I thought that was an automated, you're saying that was a manual pull?
I have to look at each individual account.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have that account when we do our bill cycle. There's reports during a bill cycle at the end of a cycle, but in between the bill cycles, we have to pull custom reports. So my question to you is, you have a rate order.
Yeah.
You have approved that you are now going back to your normal protocol.
Right.
So we're following the rate order pre-COVID. We're out of that. So we're going to follow that protocol. They're going to get a delinquent letter. They're going to get a tag, and this is everybody that is delinquent. They will have a tag hung on their door 3 days before disconnect. The process is, once we get to that point where we're hanging tags and we're ready to disconnect, the day or so before we start going through that list, and anyone that has deed restriction fines, we get with you guys on to make sure that we are either going to disconnect or not. That's the process that I remember. And
Yes.
if y'all want to change,
That is the
I don't know
process.
why we want to, like, people that have paid over 90 days or haven't paid their water. That's the process that we've normally done. So I don't know why we want to spend a lot of time digging into every account trying to find out what's the story with this one or what's going on with this one. I mean, it's a process.
Well, Christy, there was a motion 2 months ago as we were coming out of this COVID process and going back to the rate order and severing water services for non-payment. There was a motion put on the table that described a process we would use to bring these people back into compliance, because there were so many people, was my understanding, that had been unable to pay for a very long time. And Catherine used the same argument about, if they call the fire department, they're going to come. If they shouldn't get to use water without paying for it. We all agreed. We all agreed that Infomark would produce a package for those people who had not paid their water bill at all, paid nothing. They would get a letter that explained to them, this is what's going to happen, and you have these options. And I believe, Catherine, you extended the payment plan, I think, up to 9 months. They were going to get that kind of treatment because they were so unusual. No payment, no contact, in some cases for over a year. That didn't happen. None of that happened. Now you want to jump right back into the way we always did business. And there are people out there that have had, to the best of my knowledge, no communication at all.
Well,
over a year.
I'm gonna let me just jump in here. I'm gonna say that they've had communication. They've refused to accept the phone call. They're not responding to emails. They're getting invoices every month saying, hey, you need to pay, this is how much your water bill is. They're getting communication. They're just choosing not to not to respond. And I think Lee would testify that because she's been making phone calls, and the people from the Houston office were making phone calls, that they were running into issues where they weren't making contact with the account holder. But at some point, we're going to have to move on to normal operations. And you know what? I honestly believe that sometimes the only way to get their attention is to put the tag out there.
I agree.
I agree.
And nobody denies
And
that.
let's do a motion. Catherine, can you make a motion for this?
Yeah, well, hold on. Before we get there, though, I'd like, one of the things that is bothering me, I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow, is the number of 4-digit bills that we have, outstanding bills, and the people are tagged as being a renter. And that what concerns me about that is if they move out, we don't have any way to recover our losses, so to speak. And
But we don't know if that's water or fines.
well, I can tell by looking at the names here and looking at the, I'm gonna be really surprised as I just go down the list and I'm looking at the
Because this issue that we're trying to add another issue, but that right now our issue is getting this water bill paid. This is not about.
Yeah, we don't know which ones.
It doesn't matter. This is what their
We
fines
don't know
are.
which one's water. We don't know which ones are outstanding water bills. We don't have that information.
But you know what? In the end, our rate order doesn't care. Am I saying that right, Bill? Are you there?
Correct. So if we go by the rate order, all the people that are on this list are delinquent and subject to disconnect. There may be a few people that have unpaid fines, and there are definitely some people that have paid fines under the rate order, the way the payments are applied. So you're essentially making an exception to your rate order if you proceed differently.
Okay. Well, can I assume that you would recommend not doing that?
Well, that's not my decision. I'm just explaining. Normally you would follow your rate order.
Right.
The board has the authority to make certain exceptions, on payment plans or collection for valid reasons, obviously. I think that the points made tonight about we're coming out of a pandemic and things have changed, and perhaps the board perhaps has been too lenient. But there are going to be people that are going to be surprised that after all this time their service gets turned off. That's going to happen. And so we need to know how we're going to deal with it, how the management company is going to deal with that eventuality, which it's going to happen for some of these people.
Okay. Let me rephrase.
But all that we're asking them to do is pay something.
Well, Beth, I don't know if that's the case necessarily. Let's say the customer gets disconnected and they have a high balance and they call Infomark. We need to know what Infomark can tell them as far as payment plans and so forth. I think that perhaps we talked about up to a 9-month payment plan, which may or may not be enough for some of these people.
Yeah. I think that's
we would
generous.
have to take that on a case-by-case basis.
And isn't your goal to get them to pay? You want them to pay, right? That's the goal. Well, we need to know who's not paying for their services. That's what we need to know.
Everybody on this list.
Everybody on this list, yeah.
No, because it assumes that they've made no payment. That's not true. If they've paid their water, if they are paying for their water and their services, but they're behind a month or two, we need to know that, right?
They're
that doesn't mean you wouldn't hang a red tag. That doesn't mean you wouldn't do that, but you would try to do something proactive and positive, because when you cut their water, tell me, Christy, what is the reconnect fee now on the rate order?
I'd have to look at the rate order.
I'm thinking it's like $35, isn't it?
Oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's hundreds of dollars.
No, I don't think it's $100.
Bill, do you have that rate order?
$40 plus a deposit.
Yeah.
Deposit, exactly.
Yeah. So here, let me throw this out there, because I mean, obviously we manage a lot of districts and we've done this throughout the entire region. So one thing that we have done, that this is the most popular option, is our customer service department, once we disconnect or before we disconnect, if a customer reaches out to us, we offer up a 3-month payment plan. If they come back and say there's no way I could do that, they have a hardship, they can't do 3 months, then we can offer a 6-month payment. And most districts have gone to a 6-month. I haven't had any district that's gone to a 9-month. However, you can choose to do that, but we start with 3 months. And depending on the different situation, we have the ability to go up to, let's say if you wanted to go 9 months, we have the ability to do 9 months. And we have some districts that if they have been disconnected and they get set up on a payment plan, we can reverse the reconnection fee. That's completely up to you. Those are your options.
But you can't refund the deposit that you're going to take from them to reconnect their service.
You know, if you want to put special items in there, we'll put it in our notes, and that'll be what the billing department knows and customer service department knows. It's up to you, but we need direction to say this is what we can or cannot do, and we need that from you.
Okay, so what am I missing here? We have the list. We're seeing who the heavy hitters are.
Yeah.
We know who hasn't paid. What more do
Correct.
we need?
We don't, because all those people need to pay their bill. It doesn't matter what it is. That is what is owed. And
Okay,
they
so we're
haven't
beating a
put
dead
themselves
horse
on a
again.
payment plan.
Yeah.
Why can't we go
We
off
are
this
beating a
list
dead
and
horse.
start doing this?
So
Why
I
can't we
guess
go out?
the direction that I would need, that Infomark needs, is that we're going to go according to the rate order, and we're going to go to full disconnect and offer up to a 6-month payment plan or a 9-month payment plan.
I would agree with that.
6-month or 9-month?
Let's do a worst case scenario. Let's say we contact a person, we say, we're going to disconnect you. Your bill is $3,600, you know, whether it be fines combined with water, what have you. If they reach out to and call us, I have a medical condition, I haven't been working or something like that, then we know that we have to work with them. We have to set them up on a payment plan, but the trigger is the red tag. So this list gives us that amount. What more do we need? I guess I'm confused here.
Just to let me know how many months can we go on a payment plan? Is it 6 months or is it 9
I
months?
think that's a good one.
Let's start with 6. Let's start with 6.
So what we'll do is we'll try to work a 3-month payment plan, and those customers that really have a hardship, like Art mentioned, if you know they're out of work or whatever, we have it in our back pocket that we can go to 6 months if we need to.
Correct. I think that's a good plan.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for.
Now, is that deviating from our rate order?
No.
Well, this is a special case, so I think there would need to be a motion made on this particular item so that we have it in
I thought the rate order said 3 months.
Bill?
Hold on, I'm looking. The rate order.
I know most districts have kind of deviated from the rate order coming out of the COVID process. So, you know, that's offering up a payment plan of 6 months.
The rate, I don't see an actual specified length of payment plan. It does require the manager to advise the customer of available alternative payment plans. And so I think we need a motion telling you how many months to offer on payment plans if customers need.
Art, you want to make a motion?
I recommend we make a motion to say 3-month default and allow Infomark to say, okay, well, they're in dire straits, let's give them a 6-month. I think that's, and if they need more, then we can do it on a case-by-case basis. That's the way I do it.
Yeah, Art, and not to interrupt you, but the case-to-case basis is not going to work real well on termination date when they're trying to reconnect unless we give authority to Catherine or some board member to make that decision. So.
Well, I think
okay,
maybe.
Then, so let's just go with the.
Go ahead.
I mean, we can't have a board meeting, you know, with less than 72 hours notice. So.
I'll second that if that's what we want to do.
Well, what I was going to say is, okay, Art, let me restate what I heard you say. The motion was to have authorize Infomark to offer
Offer a 3-month.
a 3-month payment, and with an optional 6-month if the account holder asks for a longer term. How about that?
That is correct. That's what.
Okay.
Catherine,
what I wanna say.
do we need to add that we're going to go back to the to our standard protocol?
Well, I think we've already determined that we're
Yeah, we
moving
already
back,
done that.
that we're going to our standard protocol.
I was just talking about what we did a few months ago. Do we need to change that? But if not, then no, then that's fine. I just
Okay,
needed to
so,
understand it.
okay, so the motion is authorizing Infomark to offer an automatic 3-month payment plan, or if a longer term is requested, it's a 6-month payment plan. Am I saying that correct, Art?
Yes.
Okay, who wants to second that?
Yes.
Okay. There you
Okay, so Beth, you're going to second that?
So in other words, we're allowing Infomark to make that decision.
Well, yeah, we're giving them the direction to get people, offering them and that we're
Okay,
we're
well, that's my
anticipating.
motion. If we need
Yes.
the motion, that's my motion.
Yes, and okay, and we got a second, and let me then, as a follow-up, this is what is anticipated is going to happen after the red tag. Am I saying that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And that is going to take place.
That's the trigger. The red
Yes.
tag.
And the red tags are going to take place the second week of July.
It'll be around the 1st or 2nd week of July. Yes.
Oh, hold on. I'm looking at the wrong calendar. Yeah, right after the 4th, the week after the 4th. Is that what we're anticipating?
I believe so.
Okay. So we got a motion, we got a second. Okay, Christy, has this given you enough direction?
I believe so. And I do want to comment on what Beth mentioned. I don't know what motion Linda was referring to that happened a couple of months ago, but if there was a motion on a special procedure, it may be good to put that in here, that the district is following their rate order on the disconnect process and allowing Infomark up to a 6-month payment plan if needed.
Okay. I don't know. Bill just mentioned that it's not written in the rate order. Is that
See,
correct, Bill?
Right. So, Christy, I don't know that modification of the motion is really necessary. And I guess, Catherine, you have a motion and a second.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
need
So
discussion, any
yeah.
discussion, and then vote on it, I think.
Yeah.
We can
Okay.
always circle back if there's additional motions, if
Right.
Christy needs further guidance.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and call the vote. Linda?
I vote no, and for the record, my no vote is because Infomark is altering the public record by not performing an approved motion by this board and creating the material that was supposed to be produced for accounts over 90 days old that had made 0 payments towards water services.
Okay, Art?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes too. Okay. Well, I hope that by the time we get to when all of this is taking place, that the list is short. Okay.
And nobody has to be cut off. Which would be
Yes, exactly. 2D, request for waste management for a dumpster. So where do we stand on getting that set?
It looks like that's going to be August.
That sounds good to me. Linda, what recommendation did you make? I know you made one.
I did. I think Lee said the soonest they could get notice in a bill was July, so August. I think she said 3rd. I may be wrong on the date.
Not that weekend. All I'm going to say is that's the case weekend, and I want to be able to have stuff, take stuff to the dumpster.
Yeah. Christy, wasn't at least part of the reason to get this is to get the debris out of the office?
That was the main reason, yes.
Actually, Christy and Bill, that was a suggestion that I made at the last meeting. I did have a constituent reach out to me and say absolutely not. The stuff in the conference room belongs to Infomark, and they don't want their dumpster space that they paid for to be filled up by Infomark stuff. So sorry, I hadn't given that a thought. I hadn't considered that, but that stuff belongs to Infomark, and now you can pay for someone to haul it away and let the residents fill up the dumpsters. They pay
Okay.
for it in their trash.
Well, I mean, some of it is Infomark and some of it is district, so that's fine. I can get my own, I'll just bring my own dump truck over there and haul off my stuff.
That's great.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
that would work.
I guess my question is, I know that, is it the same contract that is servicing the district for the residents? Is it the same contract that is servicing the parks too?
It's waste management, the people who empty your trash cans.
Yeah, so I'm going, it's
Yeah,
it's
the bulk is
us.
waste management.
I guess
Yes.
not.
What's confusing you?
I guess what I'm saying is I think that's being petty.
Why
You know, we need to get the stuff out of we need to get the stuff out of our building so that we can get our building put back together.
I could not agree more, but you know something? The stuff in that conference room is mostly Infomark furniture and their personal belongings. I don't think the taxpayers in this district need to pay to haul away their stuff. They should haul away their stuff, and we leave that dumpster for the people who paid for it, which are the residents who pay for the trash service. That's not petty. That's fair.
I disagree. Okay. Well, if I'm not
I
gonna.
disagree also.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so did we agree on a time frame?
Yeah, August 3rd. It's the soonest after the bill, so people will have a ready reminder that it's coming.
All right, so what
We
date?
won't-
Let's
We can't do that, Catherine, can we?
let's put a target. What date do we want?
Well, I wanted the second weekend. That's all I was saying. I wanted the
Can we
second
do the
weekend of
second
August.
weekend?
Yeah, I wanted to do
Is that a
this-
problem, Christy?
I don't believe so, no.
We could, I think, do the last week in July as well. The bills should be processing, I think, the week of the 19th.
That might be better before school functions start back up. I don't know what weekend the band, I can't remember what weekend the band has their parade, but I do believe it's the first part of August. And you sure don't want the dumpsters out there at the same time that you've got 100 and some odd kids marching up and down the streets of our neighborhood.
Okay, so are we saying we want to try for the last weekend of July?
Okay,
July
this is
30th.
gonna happen on a Saturday, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, school and all those other issues is kind of a moot point because it's gonna be a Saturday all day. So if we look at August, we got the
Saturday the
7th,
31st.
14th, 21st, and the 28th.
Do we care if it is during summer, just from the standpoint that people go away during the summer? And so some people might not be here for it?
That's
Or
a good point, but we can always have another one. I mean, we're
Yeah.
allowed 2 a year.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Okay, because school goes back August 12th this year, is really early. So I'm just wondering if we waited till the third week in August, summer would be over.
21st? I'm fine with that. The 21st of August.
Okay. So Megan, you think it might be better if we did it once school had started, is what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking that if people are away and they miss it, you know, if we're trying to make sure that the most number of people are around for it, then
Well, I think we too need to decide, Lee, when do the bills normally get mailed out?
It's usually around the 20th of the month, so I think that's the week of the 19th. It might be like the 21st or 22nd when they come out.
Yeah, the 22nd is a Wednesday. So that'll give them more than a month to prepare for it. So I'm okay with any Saturday in August or even July, the 31st of July. We could do that.
Why don't we do the end of July, because we have another dumpster haul away that we paid for through Waste Management that we have to use by the end of the year, and that would put some distance between them.
Okay.
I'm good with that date too. I'm good with that
Hey,
date.
so let's aim for the 31st of July.
Lee, can you make that date?
Yes, I'll contact Paul about it and he can help coordinate.
Okay, so
Okay.
do we need a motion or no?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so the 31st of July is bulk day, or what is it?
Yeah, yeah, bulk day. That's a good way of putting it, bulk day. Okay, agenda 3A, report from the Parks Committee. Megan, what do you need? What do you need? And Beth, what did you need to talk about?
Okay, what's on the, I'm sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me, Catherine. What's the first?
It says replacement of trees, plants and trees on district property right of way that were damaged by the storm. That's 3A.
Oh, okay. So the Parks Committee had been authorized a couple meetings ago to spend up to work with Sunscape, our landscaper, to spend up to $12,000 to replace plantings that had been lost due to the freeze. And so Beth and I actually met with Scott out on the street and in the parks early in June, and talked about what we were going to do, a strategy for that. And because if you recall, the initial cost estimate put together for us was based on all the loss across the district, and it was a lot of money. So not something we could afford right away. And we decided, that we were going to hold off on trees until fall, better planting time for trees. So Scott had proposed to us that we start with the street corners. They're highly visible. We can sort of spread the love throughout the district instead of focusing everything in one spot. And so he put together he just revised his proposal for us to give us a plan for all the street corners in the district for less than $12,000. So we can show it to y'all if you want to see it. It was something that the committee was working on, but we're certainly happy to share. We did, talk to him about avoiding things that did not fare well during the freeze. So no more whales to him. He was able to, recommend some things that seemed to do really well in, all the places he's worked.
So are we talking about, replacing, certain plants at every corner, not having to redo every corner, but, at this corner, the barrel cactus are gone. So replacing the dead barrel cactus, and then we're going to a different corner and we're replacing the whale's tongue, and then we're going to a different corner and replacing something else. Is that what we're talking about?
That's right. Yeah, it would be, the corners are what they are. And so it would just be adding back planting to that.
Okay. Okay, so, and we're also talking about something that's in budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the board approved 12,000 because that was in budget with what we'd already budgeted for various plantings and shrubbery and things like that. I think we had a total of 5,000 for those types of things, trees and shrubs and so forth. And we had already, as a board, approved a few months ago to do the street corner on Spider Lily and El Solito, which hadn't been landscaped yet, if you remember. So that was, $1,500 or something like that. So we had already approved that months prior. And so the board then authorized the Parks Committee to work with Scott to spend up to an additional $12,000 to cover, to do some other replacements, and that also included Garden of Wild Things. So Scott's recent proposal also includes replacing things like Garden of Wild Things.
Okay, so that's included in the $12,000 proposal?
Yes.
The Garden of the Wild Things. So does his proposal have pictures or not?
No, when we met, because you can Google everything, so it has the names of the plant, and then you just Google it and see what it looks like. And when we met with him out in the district, we talked about different options, and then Googled it from our phones, and oh yeah, we like that, or or not.
Okay.
We had, we were trying to think of ways that we could introduce a little bit of color into the corners, because they're so just monochromatic. There's no irrigation there, so it has to be plants that can survive without irrigation. But he did suggest that we could probably do some Copper Canyon daisies, which have done extremely well.
Yes.
Even despite the freeze, you'll see them everywhere. They just look like yellow, kind of like sunflowers a little bit, smaller sunflowers. So he did propose those to kind of fill in along with the Texas native, more cacti looking species, yucca, agaves, to kind of fill in and give a little burst of color.
Okay. Well, I think you should make a motion.
So I
Well,
don't know.
I have a question. I have a question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So is the budget for the replacement of plants and trees on the district and the right of way and the trimming of trees by the arborist, is it the same proposal? Or are they two different proposals?
Two separate.
Two separate? Okay,
Yeah.
so the proposal for this one for 3A is $12,000?
Yes, it came in just under 12,000, and Scott knows that that's our top budget, and says he's committed to making sure that nothing goes over that.
Okay, my last question is, do we have a budget for the tree trimming, or was that something that due to the storm, I'm trying to remember, I know we have a proposal, but do we have a budget for that one?
Yeah, so at the same meeting where y'all authorized the Parks Committee to spend up to 12,000 to do the plantings, the board also authorized us to spend up to 10,000 to work with Sunscape and an arborist to kind of take care of a lot of the trees that were damaged. And we have a proposal for that as well. And that actually, so Scott went out with the arborist and walked around the whole district and figured out what we were going to have to do for that. And the proposal is like 4,000 something. So it was came way better than what we were worried it was going to be. With
Yeah,
It is way better.
because we thought that was going to be 5 figures easy.
Yes, right.
Okay.
So, and of course, that's not everything we would ever want to do in terms of trimming of our trees and tree maintenance, but it's, what was needed to kind of make sure that things were safe after the storm, anything that was damaged, anything that was hanging.
Get rid of the widowmakers.
Yeah, exactly. So all that said, I don't know if we need a motion because we were already approved to spend up to that amount. So, but if Bill thinks we need a motion again, make a motion again.
Do we maybe need a motion to accept the proposal, Bill?
Well, I don't remember exactly what we approved, but if Megan's correct, they've already been authorized to move forward, so you wouldn't need another motion unless they're exceeding their authorization, which it sounds like they're not.
Right. Okay. Okay.
We're
that's
not.
good. Okay. And then, so then 3B is the trimming of the tree and dealing with the arborist. If I remember correctly, did we do exactly the same thing? We authorized the Parks Committee to,
10
take
grand.
on this project, and we gave you a budget not to exceed, and it sounds like you're way under that also.
Yes, that was the 10,000. Yep.
Okay, so it sounds like you're going to be able to move forward on that project too, because it's already been authorized.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So then 3C is a waiver.
Before you go there, Megan, this arborist are they going to come back and give a proposal now for fixing trees, truly trimming up all the trees, not the storm damage, all the rest?
Yeah, actually, we have a proposal from them for that they did for us back in February. And we sort of, and then the storm hit and nobody cared about that because everyone was, running around dealing with the storm. So we can loop back around to that. But they did actually already provide a kind of a district-wide proposal for tree maintenance and trimming.
How much was that?
Gosh, I don't remember offhand. It was, I'd have to go back and find it. It was definitely something that we would probably have to phase over time. I remember it was not, the full amount was.
It was a lot.
Yeah, that more than we would do at once. So we would have to, if we were going to move forward with that, we'd have to go back with them and kind of figure out what was the priority. And probably potentially as a board, talk a little bit about what our priority is. Is it tree health? Is it appearance? Is it, you know, what is it that we want to focus on first? So, you know, we can kind of target a particular area of the district. We can target a particular park. We can target areas of the park that are more visible or highly used. So when I met with the arborist back in February or January, he was kind of saying, well, there's a lot. So how we prioritize it is really up to the district in terms of, you know, what's most important. What do we focus on first? Because, you know, he realized that it wasn't going to be a kind of one-time do it all at once deal.
Well, what I'm hearing, Megan, is that you need to request something in the budget to deal with this project, and it also sounds like that there, you know, after we deal with all of the storm damage stuff, then there's going to have to be sort of another review of what is out there, because I'm willing to bet there's gonna, you know, there was stuff that is like no longer an issue because, you know, the tree's gone, or, you know, we dealt with trees that had hanging branches, and it's like, you know, you can't just worry about whether it's beautiful or not. You're just hoping to keep the tree alive.
Yeah, sure. And, you know, it wasn't just about trimming. Certainly that was one piece of it. But there were also, you know, he had worked in there what trees should be fertilized, and kind of different methods for that. You know, they have a process where they really deep fertilize the roots of certain trees, you know, and then, you know, and then we have to decide, well, so which trees we do that to? Is it the ones that are most at risk? Is it the ones that we sort of like care about the most because they're the oldest, or they have some sort of other special, you know, like that climbing tree in Anderson West Park that all the kids love to climb on. There's one branch that sticks out, all funky, like, you know, if that has important value to us. So there are decisions to be made, I think, is the point.
Okay.
The reason I asked that question was so that you could prepare to stick it in a budget coming up.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree.
That was the only reason I asked. I appreciate all that detail, but yeah, I just didn't want you to miss that opportunity to figure out how you're going to squeeze it in a budget somewhere.
Well, I also heard that it sounded like it was a multi-year budget issue. So, you know, we need to figure out, you know, where to go. Okay,
Take the total, divide by 3.
Yeah, something like that. 3D is revisions to the park rules. So do you
skip C?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. 3C, waiver of commercial use fee for Tinker Garden to lead classes in Sunchase Park.
Yeah. Okay. So the district has recently received a request from the company Tinker Garden for one of our district residents to lead classes in Sunchase Park. So Tinker Garden is a nationwide program for nature and play-based education for young kids. And their whole model is that leaders teach classes in their local parks with the kind of like idea that nature is the ultimate classroom, and it kind of helps kids connect with their local parks and nature in their community. So we've actually had Tinker Garden classes, I'm sure you remember, Catherine, that have been led in our district for several years now. full disclosure, I taught in Anderson Mill West Park. I was a leader. I taught early 2020. But we have another leader who has been a leader for many, many years and has taught several seasons in Sunshine Park. And so last year, all classes, in-person classes were shut down because of COVID. So, but they're back in person now. So Tinkergarten has come back to request to use Sunshine Park for this purpose. Again, so the reason it's kind of weird is that I think there was a misunderstanding in previous approvals that Tinkergarten is a nonprofit, and they're not. They are a for-profit company, but because there was that misunderstanding, they were being given the nonprofit rate for using the park. But according to our actual current park rules, they would fall under the commercial use category, which is $250 a year.
$250, is that what it is? Is that what you said? Okay.
So the park committee has discussed this, and we are recommending that the board waive the $250 fee, and that's for a number of reasons. The first is that there are no pavilions being reserved or the building or any particular amenities. So Tinkergarten classes basically just set up in any open space in the park. They're capped at 12 kids, so they're often much smaller than that. It's a really small group. They don't take up room or make noise, and them being there doesn't include anyone else from the park or any of the park facilities. It doesn't include reservations. There's no cost associated with them operating if they're not generating trash or like cleanup or anything like that that the district is going to have to facility for. The leader is a resident of the district, and then just kind of more philosophically speaking, the kind of our belief that having classes like this in our parks are actually a benefit to the community. They bring people to the space, they program the space, they bring called, the nerdy word for it is activating the space, where you basically program human activity into a public space or a park where you want people to come. And so research actually shows that one of the best ways to maximize use of the park and to generate more users to a park space is to have improvised activities in the park. And so we just sort of feel like without a rec department of our own or any district program of our own, having things like this in the community is actually positive. And since they aren't renting anything, reserving anything, I should say, they're just going to be in the park basically. We think it's appropriate.
Okay, so did you want to make a motion?
Sure. Beth, did you want to add anything?
No, I would love to see it happen and come back, because I know everybody loved it last year. So I just want to see it happen.
So have we ever had more than one Tinkergarten class, in our community at the same time? Because I know that, a leader, chooses a place, have we ever had more than one taking place at the same time?
No, because when I led at Anderson Mill West Park, the Sun Chase Park leader didn't lead that season.
Okay.
So it's never been simultaneous.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, how much is the fee, if there is such a fee?
Our fee for them normally it's $250 is the commercial use rate.
No, okay, but Art, were you asking what the cost is to have your child participate, or were you asking what our?
No, just the fee. We're talking about waiving the commercial fee. I just want to know what that.
Yeah. Okay.
Do the leaders make money?
Yes.
This paid job? How much do they make? Is it per child?
Not much. It is per child. Yes.
It is per child. And do the children come from outside of the district?
They can, yep. Yes,
So
it's
it's not just a park for district residents, it's open to everyone.
That is correct. Yeah. So basically, if somebody wanted to enroll their kid in a Tinkergarten class, they would go to the website and they put in their zip and it would show all the classes being offered in the area.
What makes waiving the fee for, I don't understand why, would they have to still have the insurance, the liability insurance?
Yeah. Yeah. So since Tinkergarten is a well-established nationwide program, they have, they have a, kind of back end part of the business that deals with all of that, makes sure that they have insurance and communicates with reaches out to the communities. The leaders actually don't do that part at all. They stay completely separate from it. So the company itself reaches out to the communities and asks permission to use the park.
But they are a full-blown commercial enterprise making money. Why would we treat them any different than we would a tennis instructor?
Because the leaders themselves are residents of the community, and they are, while they make money, they don't make a lot of money, and it's not a huge this huge commercial enterprise where we're basically they are precluding use of the park from anyone else from using the park. So basically, from my perspective, smoothing the way for things like this to happen in our district is a benefit to our community. So charging them money when they're not costing the district anything to use the park just seems kind of silly to me.
Well, it costs money to maintain a park. And granted, I don't think little kids do a lot of damage in a park, but there is a cost associated with maintaining a park, just like there's costs associated with maintaining the tennis courts. And we don't collect enough money from the tennis instructors' fees and all those to pay for that service either. I'm just thinking when you start treating groups differently, then you have a situation where it's not fair and it's not equitable.
I actually don't want to treat groups differently. It actually doesn't have anything to do with Tinkergarten. I have the same perspective about any group that's using the park in a similar way and that isn't reserving a facility. So the tennis courts, part of the reason we charge is because they are actually reserving the court, which means that amenity cannot be used by a park resident or by another park user. So as long as they are teaching their class, residents can't use the court. So having some sort of, and I think that if this particular, so right now we actually have a resident who's teaching tumbling classes in Anderson Mills Park, and she reserves the pavilion. And so it's dedicated to her at that time, and she's being charged for that reservation. And if Tinkergarten wanted to reserve the pavilion for that purpose, they would. I wouldn't be making the same argument. It's because it's basically a group of kids sitting in the dirt playing and bringing joy to our community and not taking anything.
Well, funny you should mention that tumbling class. I actually saw it this morning when I went and signed checks, and they were at the Lakeline Oaks Pavilion. And I asked Michael to run a report to show me all of those commercial user fees that have been paid in the financial system, and there aren't any. So,
well, not recently, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had him look back 2 years.
Okay, well, maybe
the tennis ones he can't pull apart because the tennis instructor writes one big check. And so he can't tell if there's a commercial user fee in there. He just sees a check. So okay. with the tennis instructors, it's hard to pull it apart. But I said, take a look for a tumbling instructor who's booked the pavilion at Lakeline Oaks every Tuesday, twice a day.
It shouldn't be Lakeline Oaks. It should be Anderson Mills West. So if they're at Lakeline Oaks, I don't know why they're there because
they are.
Unless they moved it and I don't know, which Lee could tell me. But no, they were authorized to do it at Anderson Mills Park, and the fee was not waived.
I don't know that the commercial user fee has anything to do at all with the argument you're making for Tinkergarten. I think it was done to make the use of our facility fair and equitable to everyone, and that would include any commercial enterprise. If somebody's making money, then they need to pay for the amenity that they're using. I appreciate that playing in the dirt isn't a costly expense, but it is treating everyone fairly. It is a commercial enterprise, and that's how the rules are written.
Well, I agree
Megan?
that that's how they're written, and that's actually the next thing on the agenda. So I appreciate that
Megan?
I don't want to have to come back and waive the fee for every particular user, and I want it to be fair, but my perspective is that all users who are similar to Tinker Garden should be treated the same way. Absolutely. So that's the next agenda.
Megan?
Yeah.
Megan,
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
the park that they're trying to use, they're not saying that no one else can use it while they're doing this activity, correct? So they're
Correct.
not the only ones using this space. Whereas the tennis courts, they're the only ones using it, or if they're doing tumbling, that's a certain area that they've reserved for only them.
Right.
That's not what we're not asking, this Tinker Garden, they're not doing that. They're actually using it in a space where everybody is still welcome to be in at the same time. Correct?
That's absolutely right.
What
So
park are they gonna do that,
I
Sanchez?
wanted to understand the difference.
Yeah.
Are they doing it at Sunchase?
they're doing it at Sunchase. Yep.
Okay. Do we allow birthday parties at Sunchase, and do they pay to have a birthday party there?
Nope.
No.
They don't pay. But yeah, if someone went into the park and was throwing a party,
Oh.
They
Well,
would,
make your-
they would
make-
pay. Yeah, it's other people that are in there also. That's
Well, go
different.
ahead and make your motion, Megan.
okay. I motion to waive the $250 per year commercial for Tinker Garden Sunchase Park to conduct classes.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion?
I'm sorry, I don't know if it's my internet, but it keeps breaking up. So what did Megan say exactly? To waive all commercial fees?
No,
No, just the commercial fee for Tinker Garden to teach in Sunchase Park.
So this is a,
It's a one.
not a carte blanche or a policy. This is just one exception, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
okay.
Now, my question is, do we do that for anybody else who's got a similar business?
I think that if they're not reserving a space for just them, we should not be charging.
So there was, I don't think we are right now. No, I don't know if we've done it in the past. There was a proposal for a similar kind of use, an art class that wanted to do the same thing where they just wanted to use plop down at any spot in the park and have art class with kids. And it was had the same thought about it at the time. Beth and I talked about it, same thing, but then it ended up going away. So it didn't.
Okay.
We do actually have, I know one of the issues we have is that some people use the parks for that purpose and don't come to the district. And what we
They just do it.
want is to, regardless of the fee, we want to make sure that those people are insured and that it's not going to be a liability to the district. So
I have another question. Last year, there was those cute little cottages in between the trees and stuff. That's what we're talking about, right?
No, that was the Fairy Garden.
that was the fairy
the
garden.
fairy garden.
That was just a community event. That was the Fairy Garden thing.
Okay, so that's something, because Megan was involved, I know, so I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's different.
That wasn't Tinker Garden, but the other one I can think of that we did waive, which is not exactly like this, but it wasn't when I was on the board, but the previous board waived the commercial fee for the craft fair when the craft fair was going to be in the park.
Right. And that ended up being someplace else. You know, COVID, you know, took care of it and then it moved someplace into Cedar Park.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
unless we have any more discussion, I'm going to call the vote. Linda,
I vote no, and I vote no because making exceptions for friends and personal interests is disparate to all others.
okay, Art,
I vote yes.
Megan,
Yeah.
Beth,
I'm going to vote yes, and I'm going to make a statement that I don't know who's doing this, but I just don't think people should have to pay if they're in a park that everybody else is already in.
okay, and I vote yes too. Okay, so then the next issue is 3D, revisions to the park plans.
Park rules.
Yeah, sorry, park rules.
Yeah. So despite the accusation that I'm doing this for friends, I actually have a broader interest in making it fair for everybody and addressing some of the things that I think are lacking in the park rules that relate to some of the nuances that we're facing with respect to commercial use of parks. There's not a one size fits all to commercial use of park spaces. I think there are a lot of different circumstances under which people who are technically making money ask to use our park spaces, many of which are very beneficial to the community. And, you know, we also have things like events, which right now are sort of lumped in with
commercial use.
Commercial use, and they're kind of a different animal. So the craft fair is one example. I think that there are quite a number of things, and then there's also issues with fees that I think we can kind of do better with our fee structure to serve our residents better and make sure that our residents are getting first dibs on using our facilities and that they're available to them first, and that because they already pay taxes for those facilities, that they're getting you know, that the rates are accessible to them, but that we're also making sure that we factor in things like the maintenance of the parks and the fact that, you know, sometimes depending on the nature of the event, we have to have our park tech come on a weekend, which we get charged extra for to clean up after the party or whatever it is. I think that the Parks Committee has been looking at the rules for months now and kind of thinking about a way to overhaul them. We've done quite a bit of work on them already, just kind of to try to move them in that direction. But we're to the point where we really need legal to get involved and to make sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's to, you know, from a legal perspective, particularly as it relates to fees and how it relates to enforcement of rules, which is another issue that we're dealing with. We have some rules that are really hard to enforce, which basically makes them kind of pointless. And so trying to identify what those rules are and find better ways to achieve what we want to achieve in a way that's more enforceable, and then also figure out ways that we can enforce things when the rules aren't being followed. The request for this particular agenda item from the Parks Committee is for the board to authorize the Parks Committee to work with legal on the rules, because otherwise, without that, we're bound to $1,000 a month or between meetings.
Okay.
And that's going to add up super fast. We have like one conference call.
Well, and you're not going to be able to get it done in a timely manner is
Right.
really what the issue is.
That's
So go ahead, make your motion.
Okay. Motion to authorize the Parks Committee to work with
Hey, Beth, can you mute?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, did y'all get that?
So I think I heard you say authorization for the Parks Committee to work with legal to revise the park rules.
Yeah, and I don't know, is it standard to, do we need like a cap amount on this bill or what?
Only if the board wants to set a not to exceed. We don't typically set a lot of those on legal work because it's difficult to predict.
Yeah, I was going to say no.
Yeah, let's
Because
not go down that.
Well, I'm hoping that what you can do is you can have a meeting, and, hopefully you can get it done in a very, very efficiently. So you're going to be able to come back next month or for sure in August. But, again, we got an awful lot of other plates spinning. So if you're late, that's fine. So,
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and second that motion. Is there any other discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Linda,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and I vote yes too. Okay. 3E, consideration of offer from Focus Digital Displays to sell a digital message board to the district at a reduced cost. So this sounds fun. What is this about?
Yeah. Christy, by any chance, do you have that proposal available that you could easily pull up?
I do.
Is there a
I'll pull it
picture?
up.
Is there like a picture?
Yes, I have it. Hold on just a second. Let me.
Is it like the one you see on Lake Creek Parkway as you're going through the limited districts? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So kind of the background on this is one of our park advisory committee members is I think she's the owner of Focus Digital Displays, and they focus on LED signage. So like the sign that's outside Elizabeth Milburn Park. And if you, during the park survey period back in May, you may have seen out on the corner of Anderson Mill West Park, there was an LED sign on a trailer. And that belonged to this company, and they donated use of that sign to advertise the survey. And so they recently told us that they have a sign that is a slightly used LED sign that they used for like demos and stuff a little bit, and they're trying to offload it. And so they said, would the district be interested in purchasing it for what would be a reduced cost from what it would cost brand new. So let's see. So if you could maybe, let's see, scroll down a bit, Christy. So essentially the details are that it would be, so this is the price, $5,800. It would include it's a single-sided full color, 3.5 foot by 6 foot 7 inch LED sign. It would fit on our current trailer that we have our old beat up marquee sign on, that's seen better days. So the idea was that it would still be, we could still move it around to different parts of the district. We could set it up when we needed it, take it down when we didn't need it, and store it in the same place we store our current marquee sign.
Now, is this a sign that could actually have a permanent installation also?
Yes. So we could, over time, if we wanted, install it into a monument style sign.
Okay.
Like the Unitarian Church on El Salito has one.
Yes.
And then of course Elizabeth Milburn Park, and yeah. So they are driven by software. So you basically put in what message you want it to say and all sorts of other things like timing and how bright you want it to be, and colors and all sorts of stuff. And then just does it. So I'm trying to exit my screen here because I'm also trying to look at my notes about this. So when these are purchased new, they go for $8,400. And this one would come with a 3-year warranty for the price quoted here. We could add another 2-year warranty, but that would be an additional $1,400. I talked to our advisory committee member's husband today about it and asked him a bunch of questions. The LED life on these is 100,000 hours, which even if it were running 24/7 would be over 11 years. But I did ask him about maintenance costs after the warranty runs out. And, obviously with any electronics, it's hard to predict, but, so he was kind of trying to give me a breakdown of what potential things could break and how much that might cost. And, it didn't sound particularly, onerous. You probably want to budget $500 a year for just routine maintenance to make sure that nothing breaks. But one of the pitfalls to this that at least from my perspective is that it has to be plugged into a power source.
Well, that was my next question. Could it run off of a battery? Is that how it's running? So, okay.
So it needs to be plugged into a power source. It sucks a lot of power. And so for mobile signs, what they typically do is plug it into a generator, a gas powered generator.
Is that what they did in May for us? Is they had a generator running? Okay.
Yes. And I asked about, well, could we do solar? There's all sorts of little solar panels you can get. And he was like, in the industry, it's not, he doesn't see it. He said he's been doing it for 16 years and people always ask about that and you don't really see it. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It's just not typically done because the key thing is that you need something that's going to pull, that just has enough power to cover the max that it could potentially draw. So that's a downfall. If it were ever installed in a monument permanent sign, we'd obviously figure out how to have power to it permanently. We wanted to bring it forward because it's a really good price. It's a good opportunity to have a different communication tool in our communication toolkit. It's a very eye-catching sign. And so for getting information out there to residents, I think it's a good way to do that. And it's kind of an incremental way to do it where, if we were aiming to someday have a more permanent sign like this, this is kind of the way to step towards that, I guess. But but I can see it from different perspectives. So we wanted to bring it forward for the board to consider and talk about. We don't have to make a decision tonight. We could put it off, or if the board has other questions, we can, take those to the company.
I would like to see how many of you have seen the one over at Elizabeth Milburn, because it really is great. And the other thing that I think is important to think about is that the sign that we have had, we've lost letters, they've gotten mixed up, kids change the wording so that it ends up being words that it's not that we put. So this is actually something that, and it is the way of the future. This is not,
definitely.
What we have is way outdated, but it also is causing problems for what we have. So because of the discount, I think it would be something that would be nice that if we would really look at, but I think it's important that everybody has seen the one at Elizabeth Milburn and knows what we're looking at. So that's what I'm asking to you guys.
So the one at Elizabeth Milburn, is it on Cypress Creek or do you have to drive in and you see it and it's like next to the pool house?
It's on Sun Chase, driving into the pool.
Okay. So I'll have to go take a look at it. This is my 2 cents. I totally agree that we need another vehicle, so to speak. And I think that, and I've thought before that, I'd like to have a monument sign. So this would be really great if we decided to use it and permanently mount it. Because in order for this thing to run and we're going to use it, unless we've got a great big electrical cord someplace where we've parked the trailer, it's not going to work, because then we're going to have a generator, and it's like that in itself, I think, becomes problematic. So I think that maybe you should think about putting this in the budget, talking about having a monument sign, because I think I know in the last couple of years there was discussions about the need for a monument sign. But then the question becomes, where do we put it? Is there going to be one at Lakeline Oaks? Is there going to be one at the Anderson Mill West Park? Because I personally can see the need for a monument sign, more than one monument sign in the district. I think the argument can be made for that. So,
yeah.
Can I ask a question, Megan, that I didn't ask you before when we were talking, but how long is this couple willing to hold? Because I can't see them holding onto the sign forever. So I'm sure that if someone gave them an offer, they would sell it to them.
oh,
So
definitely. I agree.
Oh, yeah. So
Yes.
can we ask them if they're willing to wait another 30 days for us to do a little bit more research on where we could put it and make it work?
Well, I asked about it today. He said that he doesn't. I don't think they'll hold it for us, but he doesn't seem to think that it's going to fly out the door. So we could just take the gamble that it's not going to fly out the door, and take the time we need to consider it more. A generator is going to be whatever, 500.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah. Well, see, and this is the thing that we didn't talk about, but I can only make the assumption that this particular sign actually has a longer life if it's not being carted around on a trailer. That's my feeling.
Sure. Like a laptop.
Yeah.
Tangent to that, I was gonna say that if we start carting it around, that's just a recipe for disaster. It's gonna fall. If we were gonna do something like that, we would have to mount it. And that again, is gonna incur additional costs because we gotta get power to it. We gotta mount it. We gotta do all kinds of things. It's a lot of maintenance. But I wanna go see the sign on at Melbourne Park to see how it looks.
So I talked about the sign on Lake Creek Parkway, and I've thought it was sort of a low end lighted sign. Are you saying the one on Elizabeth Milburn is a nicer sign?
Okay. Well, I haven't seen it. I didn't pay attention. And I went there the other day to walk my dog, so it didn't grab my attention. So that's not saying much.
One in the Unitarian Church, it looks just like that.
Except
that one's
bigger.
mounted.
Yeah, and this one might be bigger than that one. I don't know. I'm feeling like that one's maybe a little small. This
It might be a little bit smaller, but as far as the display, it all looks the same.
Yes.
When you say it uses a lot of power, I want to know exactly how much power it's going to use, because that is an annual fee. That's additional costs. And what's your message every day? Why do you need a marquee sign? What's your story?
So Christy, can you pull up the thing again? It has the power. When I say a lot of power, I was talking about that I don't know the answer in terms of
120 volts. 120 volts, already closed it, sorry.
Okay.
So it's
Send
100
me the proposal, Christy, please, so I can look at it. And then I'd like to compare it to other sources. I mean, I know, these are people that and this is part of your advisory committee, but just to take an offer from somebody without comparing it to anything else just seems irresponsible.
So I'm willing to bet that a lot of power is in context of a solar of a solar panel.
I said it takes a lot of power. Yeah, I don't know how it compares to like a refrigerator.
Yeah,
but maybe someone here.
A street light. How does it compare to a
Yeah.
street light?
Right. So I don't have the answer to that, but yes, but my comment that it takes a lot of power was in reference to, can we set up a solar panel? Because he was saying you just have to make sure you're covering its power.
And see, my feeling was going to be that, yeah, the solar panels would probably cost as much as the sign.
Because at the
As
bottom,
somebody
it says
as somebody
dedicated
who's been
circuit
looking at
recommended for
solar
LED.
systems.
Yes, yes.
120 volts, 12.7 amps.
So I would say, if I could just mention this, I have another district that's installing a sign like this that is installed inside of a monument, a rock stone monument around it. And it's running about $30,000. So if you could get your hands on this sign, the other one that we just purchased that is very similar to this was $13,000. So if you can get this one for $5,800 and hold on to it, if you really think that this is something you want to do, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with you, Christy. Yeah, I think this is something that would be an addition to our, a good addition to our community. And, I laugh because when I drive by one of the signs that, the limited district put in, it's always wishing I guess you can, I don't know if you have to pay or if it's just a free service that the limited district does for their community, but you can announce birthdays, you can announce anniversaries. So every time I drive by, I always know who's having a birthday in the limited district and who's having their 50th wedding anniversary. So
Catherine, let me tell you this too. It doesn't always have to be on. The other district is actually having they have their monument sign, their WCID Belterra sign in front of this sign. It's on hinges. And when they want to actually light up the sign for something important, such as a boil water notice or board meeting this day, they just pull the hinges back and turn on the LED sign.
Yeah. And, it would be, if it were mounted permanently, it would be a situation where we can, broadcast meeting dates, come to the board, blah, blah, blah. We can, literally anything that we want to push out to the district. That's just another way to do it besides just putting it on the website, which people don't see on a daily basis. This is a way to more consistently broadcast information that we want residents to have.
Hey, why don't we put it on the back burner till next month and see what?
Yes.
And if they sell it, they sell it. If not, it's a budget item.
Yeah. So this is my question. How is other than being being certified for outdoor, how is this different from a TV? It's just a great big monitor. Isn't that all this is?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, I mean, it has a computer, an internal computer that runs it. It's run by software. You basically has a port. It has Ethernet stuff too, but it has a port that the guy said the easiest way to input the information is just plug a laptop into the back and just there's software. You just tell it what you want it to say and unplug it, and that's it. So
okay. Well, I agree. I agree with Art's suggestion that we just let this soak for a month, and
let the Parks Committee figure out total cost, what it would be to put it in a monument, what a cost of a generator would be if you had to go that route.
Yeah.
Where you're going to store it if it's not mounted somewhere. That's another real concern. Storage is very expensive.
It would be stored where the current marquee sign is stored.
So you're suggesting getting rid of the current sign and replacing it with this?
If that's what the board decided we wanted to do, rather than permanently installing it. If we wanted it to be mobile, then it would go on the trailer and it would be mounted to the trailer, which is how the one that they put up for the park survey, that's how it's the trailer.
Yeah, it looked nice. It was very colorful. The trailer was nice too.
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving the trailer with this, are they?
No, that would be a separate expense.
Yeah, there just needs to be some more research on the cost of what it would cost to build the marquee and the whole
and the benefits.
If
And
you're,
I
if
think
you're
we ought to
going
do
over,
cost
if you're
benefit
going over a
analysis.
certain amount, you're gonna have to bid it.
Yeah.
So I asked a couple of years ago, I asked City of Cedar Park how much their monument outside Elizabeth Milburn cost, and it was $24,000, everything. So just as one data point.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to 3F. Board authorization to issue quick pull on park equipment replacement. So what is this?
So this is, so we're bringing this forward to the board because it's technically, it technically doesn't fall under the category that the Information Management Committee is authorized to just do, which is, put information and facts out there to the community. So it would require board approval. And this was just an idea we had for, we're kind of always looking for ways to engage residents in not just, things that require a lot of time and energy, but also just kind of quick and easy things that people can respond to and engage with. So this was, Beth and I have been trying to figure out how to replace, there's that snail at Anderson Mill Park.
I knew it. I knew that's what Jeremy was talking about.
Yeah, because I think you and Jana were probably trying to figure out how to replace the dang snail. The snail is like the bane of existence. So we've been trying to figure out how to replace this dang thing. And meanwhile, it's just sitting there with this like bag over it. And so we've gone back and forth and we have lots of different options. And, it's like, well, we don't really want to be necessarily the deciders of what replaces the snail. It's a pretty it's like, there's no wrong answer. And yeah, I mean, there's cost, but if we whittled it down to like a few options that all sort of cost the same thing, it would be kind of fun to then just do a quick poll and say, what do y'all like? Which one do you want?
And so just to show, just so everybody's clear, we're just talking about, what is this, one of those 3 to 5, it's age grade, it's little riding toys that's on the great big spring that you rock back and forth on. Is that what this is?
That's what the snail was.
Okay.
But before that, there was a car, and they all met the same demise. And we sort of come to the conclusion that the bouncy things are just, they're bound to break. Like kids, they pile on them and then they just work them into the ground and eventually they just snap off and break. And it's so we were kind of like, okay, let's find something else that's not going to break. So we wanted to bring it to the board. We haven't even narrowed it down yet to what would go in the poll, but we wanted to bring it to the board to see if it's something that the board would, authorize us to do.
Yeah, I think this is sort of a fun thing to do. But the question is, what did we have a budget that we were working with in order to replace this?
Yeah, so I mean, we'd basically be operating within what budget we have for park things like that.
You're way under budget on your park items.
Yeah, we haven't really spent anything on parks other than to work on the park plan and to keep up with maintenance and trees and whatever. We haven't really spent anything.
Okay. So I'm just going to be asking you some questions. So if we're not going to put in one of those, rocky things on the spring, what are the other options that you're looking at? Because you've actually got a very specific space. You've got a very specific age group that you're looking to address, because it was in the 3 to 5 year age or so, park space, wasn't it?
It's over in the for younger kids.
Yeah.
Side. Yeah. So there are a number of climbing things, things that look like boulders that kids can climb up, have hidey holes to go in.
Okay.
There are all sorts of balance options. There are things that spin. There are those little merry-go-round type spinny things.
Okay.
I mean, truly, if you can conceive of it, it exists. So, it's really just a matter, and I think that's probably why we're having challenges deciding. There's so many options. So that's why we were kind of thinking it would be kind of fun to just let residents just, we would narrow it down and figure out what was feasible and, with, budget friendly, and then.
Right. But we're talking about, it has to fit in the space.
Yep.
And and its fall zones can't, cross over into the fall zones of others. So you actually do have quite a few constraints that you have to follow when you're choosing whatever piece it is. Am I saying that correctly?
I mean, there's certainly constraints. We talked about getting rid of the pour and play that's there, because as we talked about it, I think at the last meeting, the pour and play is just a disaster. It just rips and is really hard to maintain. And but yeah, there are definitely parameters that we have to work within. And before we decided on any, 3 or 4 options, we would make sure that with TF Harper, our playground folks, that it was, safe to put in that location.
Okay. But you're not looking at taking out the pour and play in the location, are you?
So there's pour and play right where the snail was.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think, and it's maybe Christy or Lee, maybe answers to this. Mackenzie kind of seemed to know all the details about the pour and play and why we wanted to get rid of it. And it's just a maintenance.
Well, it looks great. It looks great. It's not having the life function that we were hoping it was going to be. Okay, so you're looking, so say if I got this right, the plan is for you to come up with like 4 options, up to 4, or do you think you need more than 4? See, I think you too many options, then you don't get a clear majority if the more options you put in there. And then is this a functionality that would be part of the website?
Yeah, so we would put it on the website. We would probably put it possibly on the park planning page, because it would be an engagement opportunity between surveys and between other engagement opportunities. It's kind of like a quick, to keep people engaged in the process, but we'd also put it on the front page.
Okay.
And then, we push it out to, all of our various communication channels.
Okay. Okay. So Bill, if we made a motion to authorize the Parks Committee to do, what do you call it? A quick engagement survey or something like that? Is that what you called it?
I think I just made up a name for it. Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
A quick poll. A quick poll. Then, do we need to? Is there going to be a cost?
Survey, right? We're going to do a survey.
It's a survey. Yeah, a survey. Is there going to be a? Oh, yeah, it's one question, but 4 options basically, like a radio button, basically, or a rank. Something like that. You'll have to decide, what do you think the best way to, is there going to be any costs that we need to authorize?
No, nope. It would be just do it. Parks Committee would just.
I mean,
right.
Okay. Yeah. There isn't going to be any, additional costs from Touchstone. That's what I'm saying.
No, I think, so Infomark is able to do a lot of quick updates to things. And so we would kind of figure out a way to do it that wasn't going to generate cost.
Okay. Okay. So I move that the Park Committee move forward with creating a quick poll to query the community on the replacement of a piece of equipment. And that the park committee make 4 choices to recommend as part of the poll. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Is that detailed enough?
That sounds detailed enough for me.
Okay.
I will second that.
Okay, so is there any more discussion?
Yes, there's plenty more discussion.
Sure.
Is it possible to remove the damaged snail? Remove its base that the plastic bag is covering?
Yeah.
Can you remove that?
Yes.
It can be removed, and then it's safe, right? Because you don't have a base sticking up with the plastic bag tied around it.
Correct.
Okay. The quick poll that you're talking about, is that going to be available for people outside of this district to respond to, like the park survey, where it's open to anyone in the free country?
It would be, I suppose it would be open to anybody who went to our website and wanted to click it.
Well, then it's not a community decision. It's a anybody decision. That's the only problem that I'm going to have with it, is that you're not going to let the residents that pay for it make the selection. It's going to be anyone who takes the time to go out there and fill out the poll will be able to make that decision. And I don't think that's fair. And then how many times can you take the poll?
So let me respond to the first one. So yes, that's true. But if we're already replacing the equipment, it's really just a preference thing. It's not like, are we going to spend money or not? And then we're footing the bill for something that people outside the community want. It's just a preference survey.
It should be a preference to the community, though, not to just anyone.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
The alternative is that Beth and I decide. So
and I think that's a fine alternative.
So you would rather no one get a say?
Actually, what I would prefer is that the base of that snail that's sticking up out of the ground, I would prefer that be removed and we reevaluate that stuff after the park plan is done. Doing things, this snail has been broke for over a year. I can find a manager's report that said it was tagged for repair. It may have even been repaired once and broke again. Yeah, that's possible too. Yeah, my point is this: we know that those spring bouncy things are not a good solution. They seem to break quicker than the rest of the park pieces. We just spent $500,000 on all that play equipment for Anderson Mill, Lakeline, and Astor in the last 5 years. I concede that the snail is history. Remove it and make the space safe. Finish your park plan and then decide what goes forward after that.
I think
that snail's been broke for so long, nobody misses it. It's just now a hazard sitting there.
Actually, the kids do ask for something to be replaced there if you spend time in the park with the kids. My concern about waiting for the park plan to be done is this is not something that's going to happen. This isn't going to be resolved this year, and something needs to be put back in the place for the kids.
Not necessarily. Something can be removed and make the space safe. That can happen too. And like I said, this snail has been damaged or missing completely for well over a year.
Right. But people are waiting for it to be replaced with something. And so waiting another year, why we brought it to the table tonight is because we wanted to hear for your options of what you would like there. Getting it removed, I 100% agree. But not putting anything there, I don't think is really something that we should even make an option. We need to put something back there for the kids. There's so many kids that play in that park. We don't have enough stuff for them now.
Part of the reason we are trying to address it is because it's been a while, because rather than it being replaced, it's just sat there.
Well, why hasn't it been replaced for over a year? Why?
Well, I think part of it was COVID. Things just got put on the back burner because of COVID.
And and it's been a busy year. We've had a
Yeah.
lot that we've been trying to navigate. So I actually don't feel super strongly about the snail. One of the things that I worry about in having someone to come out and pull out all of that, and I don't know, maybe Christy or Lee knows the answer to this. I suspect Mackenzie might have, but one of the things I worry about doing it that way is that we're paying for labor costs. So if we're paying someone to come out, take and do all the work to remove all that and make it safe, and then we have to potentially down the road have someone else come back out again and install something, that we're looking at more labor costs because we're having people come out twice. So, we were dealing with a similar thing with the swings. So the swings in Anderson Mills Park are way too low. Having somebody come and raise them 9 inches, we were going to pay all these labor costs associated with that to have someone come out there and just to make that one minor change. So then we were holding off. Well, maybe we should see if we want to replace any of those swings with something else. And then we were not double paying labor costs. So, I'm not ignoring budget or costs by doing this. It's actually, it's much more thoughtful about things than that. And so that would be my concern, is that if we just do the work to pull the thing out and then decide 6 months from now we want to put something else in, we're paying additional labor costs associated with that.
So,
Aside
On
from
the upside,
so here's my question.
the park tech is can go out in there and remove 4 bolts.
I think it's much more complicated than that. It's installed down into the ground. It's not, I don't, to get
Is it a spring?
It had
it a spring?
It had a plate with 4 bolts and the spring attached to the plate.
Yeah, it's a spring with 4 bolts.
Yeah, but I think there's a component that goes into the ground. I could be wrong, and I don't know, maybe Christy or
It's
Lee.
just a concrete
There's
block.
there's more to it. There's concrete that goes down into the ground about 2 feet. There's more
Yeah,
to it than
there's
just
footing.
unscrewed bolts.
I agree, there's footings.
It's a footing, but
So
is it a hazard right now? That's my question.
Okay.
It's covered
Okay.
with a plastic
Yeah.
bag right now.
Is it a hazard right now to the kids?
Yes.
If the plastic bag is ripped off, it can be, yeah, because
Even without it ripped off, I've been over there with my grandbaby and she immediately gravitates to the bag and it was laying on the floor. And it sticks up. Of course, that's what she wants to play with, is the stinking bag. But
Right.
but yes, there is something that does protrude out of the ground. It is dangerous for it to be there
It is
because the little
dangerous,
ones
okay.
run around in that park.
So, see, I agree with Linda. I think it should be part of our park plan, remove it, and then let's get something well thought out. Let's redesign the space and incorporate it into the park plan.
And maybe you don't need a little feature in that spot going forward, depending on how that park turns out after the plan. It might not be something that you miss.
Can I suggest that Infomark remove the snail and we get back together with the Parks Committee and decide what we're going to replace it on so we can move on off this item?
Yeah, let's move on. This is a snail space. Come on.
Okay, Catherine, just procedurally, I think we had a motion and a second,
Yeah,
so
we had a motion.
we'll
and a
have to either
second.
withdraw the motion or actually vote on it.
Okay.
Tony had it approved to replace it with something. It's just, that we're hoping to get some input with you guys.
It was really just,
Obviously,
well, it was about
That's
letting
not
the
working out well.
community- Yeah, it was just about letting the community have some input into, rather than us just deciding. But
Yeah.
I'm perfectly happy to just not replace it at all. And
Let's just,
Well,
well, I don't like
so-
the
Well,
idea.
I was gonna say, I'm well perfectly happy letting you just decide,
Yeah,
Yeah.
something needs
Me
to
too.
go there. That park has too many kids there, and there's not enough equipment for the kids to play on. So anyways, but Megan, you and I can talk about it later, because obviously this isn't something that everybody wants to work on, so.
Yep, that's
But you-
fine. I'll
let's get it
withdraw
out.
my motion. I'll withdraw
Okay.
my motion.
Well, Catherine,
No,
you made,
Catherine
who
made-
made the motion? Catherine, did you make the motion?
Did I make the motion? Oh, yeah, I think I made the motion, you second. So
Okay.
I will go ahead and withdraw the motion then. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, agenda number 4, report from the Budget Committee. Okay, so this is Linda and I, and the reason that we put the we asked that this be put on tonight's agenda so we could talk about it is one of the things, and Linda, jump in here when appropriate, is that we wanted to start the conversation about figuring out how to move part of this the solid waste or the fire protection fees that are currently put on the monthly water bill. We wanted to move a portion of those to be paid by taxes. You know, we've talked about this, Art, if you remember correctly, probably for 5 years. But we
Yeah.
always talked about it at the last minute, at the 11th hour. And it's like, it needs to be part of the discussion,
Well,
you know, at 2 o'clock, not
we
11:30.
we need some figures. We need some,
Right.
we gotta
Right.
put it in the
What
rate
they-
order and do a what if.
Yeah.
I would just say, my brothers would be just to do the fire protection first, leave the waste disposal for the second phase, and then do all or part of the fire protection first.
Fire
Okay.
protection is 600,000 a year.
Correct.
That's a
It is.
chunk.
It's a
That's a
chunk.
chunk
I
of
agree.
money.
It's a chunk. We agree.
And
But
waste
the-
And it keeps
management,
getting higher.
400,000 a year. So we just have to plug it in, Catherine, when we see
Right.
the
Right.
values.
Right. We haven't received all the figures yet. It's going to be probably after 4th of July. Am I saying that right,
I
Linda?
thought you said closer to the end of July, but
Okay. I was remembering it optimistically then.
Yes, values come in at the end of July.
But-
Yeah.
But here's what I was hoping for, and I thought that's why we put this on here. All the committees need to start now gathering
Yes.
what you need coming up and look, give a 5-year window if you have it. Kind of like the arborist, Megan, divide by 3 if you think it's a 3-year project. So we know how much everything needs in the next coming year and 3 years out. If you can start pulling that together, so we have it at the end of July to plug in, that would be helpful.
Right. So now is the time for the Parks Committee, the Infrastructure Committee, because those are the 2 big committees that, spend the optional money, I guess you could say, on a yearly basis where they have the big projects. And as I've said in the past, we're now at the point where we've done all the big, for the most part, huge beautification projects, whether we're talking about new play equipment, renovations of 1,000 Old Mills, doubling the street lights, etc. So now we're going to start talking about doing some of this, what I'll call the redistribution of an organization of how we're going to budget our money, because the objective is to do a couple of things. Is we want to increase our reserves for anticipated big ticket infrastructures, 24, 25, 26. We also want to tackle some of this this issue with the waste management and the fire protection. And that will bring us in line. By doing that, that'll bring us in line so that our tax rate and our services are more in line with Cedar Park, because those are 2 services that are handled through taxes, not through their water bill.
Hey, Catherine, I want to circle back to fire protection. When we do this, we're going to have to project out 5, 10, maybe even 20 years, because it's been shown that the fire protection fee has gone up 5%, 4 to 5% every year since I've been here.
It does go up. And the waste management fee, it also increases based on the consumer price index. So yes, that has to be factored in. You're absolutely right, Art. At some point, it becomes unaffordable. And Catherine, remember what Chris Lane told us, we're not going to be able to collect the amount of taxes that we have in the past once our debt service is paid off. So
Yes.
we have.
So we throw the fire protection in there, that's going to, like Linda said, that's a big chunk of money. And it's now it's kind of isolated because we're throwing it in with a rate, so.
Yeah.
Catherine, can I suggest that Infomark send an email out to each committee asking for their wish list? So at least we can work on the expense items. And when your
Yes.
certified value comes in, we can start tinkering around with the revenue items.
Yes, yes, because there's going to be a whole lot of, calculating and all at one time once all these numbers start coalesce at the same time. I agree.
So we'll send out an email to each committee with a format. It doesn't, may not even need to have a format, but a deadline of any wish list items that committee is looking for to put in the
Mhm.
budget over the next 5 years.
Right.
Okay.
Were we
Okay.
gonna do a separate budget meeting or are we gonna do it the last Wednesday of July?
Are you talking about a board
Wednesday.
meeting?
Are we gonna do a separate meeting to create the budget or are we gonna tackle that with the last Wednesday meeting in July?
Well, Bill, remind me how we've done it in the past. I want to say that
It's incorporated to the board meeting.
right, but I don't think it's going to be in July. I think it's probably going to be in August.
Yep. Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna have enough information to do a full-blown budget consideration in July. I mean, you can
No.
certainly look at preliminary stuff.
Right, and when we get right down to the wire, there's going to end up being a special board meeting sometime in September, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, in order to
September
get
14th,
everything.
the deadline again?
Yeah, so Williamson County's deadline that they set is always the middle of September. And Travis County usually goes with the traditional end of September. That's you actually have to have the tax rate set by then. So there's several steps. We usually have one meeting where all we talk about is the budget to try to get
Yes.
that in shape. We don't actually approve it, but that helps us set a proposed tax rate. And then we have to give notice of that and have a hearing on that before we can
Yes.
set the tax rate and budget. So you always have at least one special meeting in there, but we're having, we have a third meeting anyway. So if we can work it in that schedule, we will, but it'll probably be August.
Right, I agree. It's going to be August.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we had to be complete by August. Okay, well, that's good. That's an extra month.
Yes, it gives us an extra month. Okay. Okay, so number 5, report from the security committee. So Linda and I have been, looking for alternatives to our lack of constables. We had an interesting conversation with Kevin, our constable. Hopefully, he's got more people coming online, and the sheriff has got more people coming online. I mean, so we're hoping that we might be able to get some more hours in the pipeline from the constable or work out an agreement with the sheriff. But in the meantime, Linda has been in contact with, what do we call it? It's not a rent-a-cop, it's another type of security company.
Rental security.
Yeah.
They're not cops. They're just rent.
Yeah, they're just security. So they could be somebody where we would have a presence. And Linda, why don't you talk about this this particular group that you found?
I think I may have covered this at the last meeting, but basically it is a service that would work our district from 1 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They would leave a car parked in the neighborhood 24/7, 365. Their car would always stay in the neighborhood and they would move it into different locations. They are just a observe and report. They do holler at kids that are being rowdy and maybe not in spots where they need to be, but they don't engage. They don't carry a weapon. They do call the law enforcement. So their annual cost for this service, like I said, it is just the 1 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the morning, those middle of the hour nights, is under $50,000 a year. It's less than what we pay for the constables, but it is those limited hours in the middle of the night, which leaves money on the table to use the constables during the day. When school starts, we like them riding around the school districts or the schools and patrolling the school zones. That's a very nice feature. I did run into one of the constables in the neighborhood the other day and had a very interesting conversation with him. And he said that even the hours that we changed them to recently, the 10 to 2, they have to take vacation to service our district, and they're not willing to do that. So we really need to look at that again. I'm gonna talk further with that constable on Friday, because when I told him that we had looked at renting a security service, he just laughed out loud. And I told him, well, I need to understand what that's about. Catherine, did you have any luck checking with the school district?
No, I didn't, but I did happen to, oh, am I on mute? No, okay. But I did happen to see, like I don't know if I mentioned that the Cap Metro has their own police department, and I'm wondering if there's somebody who, if that's a possibility. I mean,
I couldn't remember who else you found. Cap Metro, that was it, with their own security. But you don't know how to, you haven't talked to these people?
I haven't talked with Cap Metro yet.
Have you talked to any of the ISD
I
people?
have. I've been playing telephone tag with them. So I will continue, but I agree that we need to get something else. I don't know, if the constables are yelling, are laughing at us, it's like, well, fine, you're going to laugh at us, but it's like you're not willing to help us in the time frame that we need, that we feel that we need. And eyes on the street are eyes on the street in the end.
Well, one thing though that was promising was that I understand the sheriff's office is staffing up. They're hiring more deputy sheriffs. The constable's office is staffing up. I say we approach them again. I don't think we should just take no for an answer the first time.
I agree.
And so
totally agree.
I will contact Williamson County's sheriff deputy office and see if now that they're hiring, if they might like to reconsider, or if we can at least get on their schedule for drive-bys, just because we're in the county, for heaven's sakes. I never see them in the neighborhood. So I don't think all is lost with that, but remember, the whole reason that we even started looking was because our trouble hours are the middle of the night.
Yes.
And finding anyone who wants to come here in the middle of the night seems to be problematic. So
yeah.
This company though, I do have a proposal. I just don't know what to do with it because it can't be published because it's a proposal. And if we ever did go this route, we'd want to get other proposals. So you don't want to display this guy's offer.
Right.
I do have a proposal that it looks promising. It meets our immediate need for the middle of the night tours. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know where else to look.
I agree.
Neighborhood watch. I really think we should start a neighborhood watch program. Only
I agree.
Because people looking out for their neighbor is probably some of the best deterrent you could have during the day.
And now that we're working more from home, maybe more of us are, before it was like nobody was in the neighborhood during, during school hours, literally.
That's changed.
So, yeah, that is
so maybe
changed.
I'm going to put that on the list, a startup of a neighborhood watch. I don't know how to go about doing that, but I'll look into it.
Okay.
As another something we can throw at the problem and see if it works.
Okay.
And that's all I have on that.
Okay, so the next agenda item is number 6, report from the Information Management Committee. And it looks like they wanted to talk about integration of the budgeting process into the district website.
Yes, excuse me 1 second while I escort my dog out of the room so he doesn't make a fuss. Okay, he is trouble. Okay, so this was I'm kind of hopeful that this year we can utilize our new public engagement webpage to sort of start the process of trying to transform our budgeting process into something that's like a little bit more accessible to residents. And I sort of feel like the relatively uncomplicated nature of our budget, as opposed to like City of Austin's, for example, kind of puts us in a really good position to make it more accessible to people. So what I was thinking is that maybe, you know, we're not going to get it perfect this time around or, you know, super amazing, but if we could just kind of start by having a page that just generally explained in very simple terms how our budgeting process works, what's the timeline for it, who's involved, what are the different stages and phases of it, and then kind of tries to break down a little bit the, you know, what our finances look like and revenues and expenditures and where does the bulk of our money go, and that hopefully also can use a little bit of graphic help to depict that for people. Because if we want people to feel like they can participate in budgeting or at least follow along and understand what they're looking at, I feel like it takes a lot of cognitive energy to look at an enormous, you know, budget spreadsheet, all those lists and names and words that don't make any sense to people and numbers. And so if we can try at least to break things down a little bit for people, I think that would be awesome. So
What are you asking for?
So I think, so it would involve having another page on the engagement page. So right now we have District Commons, which is the main public engagement page. We have the park planning process as its own project. And so what I was thinking might be helpful is to have another project. So it's not just the park planning project, but the other project is the budgeting process page. And it gives us a place to sort of stick all the information about the budgeting process, timeline and FAQs and all of that, so that it's accessible to people, has dates for when we have meetings that relate to the budget, when the budget has to be adopted, so on and so forth, so that people can better engage with it.
So you're just asking for permission to expand the current website to include a budget specific section.
Yes, and now it would involve, if we're going to create a new page, that would involve Touchstone.
Touchstone.
They
Okay.
would have to create a new page on the web page if we did it that way.
Okay, so with this, but once the framework for a new page is created, then Infomark is able to make modifications to the page. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, minor modifications can be made, add this or whatever. And Lee, correct me if I'm wrong about any of that, because you're the one who gets to do all of that. But I think that's right.
That's typically correct. There are a few pages with some code that we don't have access to, but for the most part, we can make changes and add documents as we need.
So I know that we talked, in the past, or you've talked in the past, Megan. Are you really sort of looking to tell the story of our budget more in a pictorial state, so that we're not looking at numbers, we're sort of looking at pictures? Is that what you're really aiming to do?
Yes, I think it would be a combination of words and pictures, to the extent that it's helpful to explain concepts, or explain what is the process, or frequently asked questions, that would be words, certainly. But in terms of trying to relay the information that is in the budget, changes in revenue over time, changes in expenditures, what proportion of the budget goes to this versus that, I think that graphics are way easier for people to consume than a giant list of numbers.
I agree. I totally agree. Some people are numbers. Some people like pictures. Okay, so what do we need? So what do we need to do? We need to make Bill, we need to make a motion authorizing Touchstone to create another page on our website that's going to contain, X type of information.
But what's it going to contain? Don't we have to come up with a content page of what we're going to give them first?
Yeah. So,
and foremost?
and that probably needs to be a collaborative thing because, we have
Right.
the budget committee working on a lot of that stuff. And so that you all are going to have more details about the process and, nuances of the process than, like I would have, or, the information management committee would have. So we need to figure out an appropriate way to get information to to us so that it can be put on the website.
Okay.
And so, the challenge, I guess I'm not exactly sure how to do that without violating some sort of quorum rule if it's between.
Well, that's a good point. We'd have to figure out what we can provide, and then, I get asked a lot of the question of what's the difference between the M&O and the debt,
Yes.
and how do we figure that out? That's a common question. Everybody's always, how do you guys come up with that, and to get a rate and stuff. So that's a good content to put in there. This is how we do it. In the out years, this is how we're gonna plan our budget based on the debt going down. Those kind of things. Show people what we plan in the future on this website.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, absolutely, Art. Yeah, those kinds of questions that are just like, that language means nothing to.
Very high level, where, not a lot of detail, where they don't fall asleep, just take it as an insomnia reading, it's something just very brief and says, this is what we're working out in the out years. This is what we're looking at for our budget process. This is what our debt is, and this is what our operating expenses are going to be. Just real, simple
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. And not using
And we already have that.
Yeah. And so some of it is taking information that we have and just formatting it in a way that is really accessible to people.
Correct.
Some of it is
That's what I was trying to say. Format.
Right, exactly. And making sure that we're talking about it in a way that uses no jargon, no vocabulary that we can't assume people understand. And that, and that where necessary, utilizes graphics to show rather than tell.
Okay, so I have a couple of comments, I guess, procedural. We have a couple of things here. One is if the board decides to authorize Touchstone to do additional work, because it's going to cost money, it sounds like. So that's one issue, maybe a separate motion. Then there's the issue of how do we put together the content? Who gets involved in putting together content? And yes, we have to be careful not to have a quorum of directors involved, and we got to avoid that. So what I would suggest is, Megan, the Information Management Committee can get a lot of the procedural, the current information from Infomark, and if needed, my office. The Budget Committee is going to be providing the substance of the new budget primarily. That's going to be part of what you put up there, but that's not ready yet. And so perhaps if the board's so inclined, they could authorize the Information Management Committee to work with Touchstone and Infomark in my office if needed to put together the basics that are going to be up there and have a place for the budget that's coming. You can look at the last budget or other budgets and get a sense of what's going to go in there. And there'll be modifications, obviously, but to get started, because it's going to be a process. You're not going to be able to put all that together, especially until you have the complete budget, I guess. So you could notify people of the process, how it's going to work as far as process, but the actual graphs or charts or whatever are going to come later.
Well, I also anticipate that this is sort of this is the front end of a longer term process, meaning, we're just figuring it out now. It'll be better. It'll be better next year.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's, it's not going to pull it off right away.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So what do we need to do? What action do we need to take?
So Bill said a motion to approve Touchstone to do
Right.
the work. Do we want like a max amount on that?
So I guess I'm assuming that we're going to be specific, and we're asking for them to create another page, and then I guess at this point, I guess we should probably just come up with a not to exceed. But I'm anticipating this not to exceed is because we're looking at something that might take 4 months to get to. Does that make sense? There's fine, they're going to create another template for another page, but you're going to be guiding the content of the page, so that you're going to have to be waiting for information to come from the budget committee, to figure out how to organize the content of this new page that we're asking for.
Yeah.
Correct.
And what we can do is we can give them the information as far as, so the good thing is that now that they did the park plan page, they kind of have a template for, just sort of loosely for how to, like the
Right.
park plan page has a timeline on the right that shows where we are in the process and what are the different phases. We could do something similar for the budgeting process,
Right.
with kind of like key, milestones in the process. And then, really then it's just words. So I don't actually anticipate there being a whole lot of cost associated with bringing up a new page. They're just creating a new page. And
Okay.
And if we have sort of, headings that are kind of represent the different types of things that we want to provide, like, and I can give that to them too. So I feel like it would be, rather than wait until the end of the budgeting process to put it up and have everything up at once, it makes more sense from a participatory standpoint to phase it over time, to put information as we have it. So we would start the page, Touchstone would create the page with the limited information that we have in the near future. Basically, what is the process, who's involved, kind of stuff that's just the same always.
Right.
And then we add content as we.
Okay. So do you think that this can be handled with doing what are you allowed, $1,000 between meetings? Is that how much you're allowed?
750.
750?
825. It's 825 for information management and Touchstone. So
so would you like to start with a not to exceed?
Yeah. So I think that, and the reason why I'm not just saying we should just do it, I think we can easily do it well within that. The only reason I'm not suggesting doing it just under that amount is that we are still trying to systematically work through how to do some just kind of like updates to the website. And we're kind of doing that, using that kind of like over time, that money.
Okay.
In between meetings.
Okay. So make a motion.
Okay. Motion to allow Touchstone to create a budget process web page for a not to exceed amount of $300.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take them much more than that.
Okay. Oh, that's second. That's fine. Any more discussion?
Yes, I would like to understand why it is so locked down that only Touchstone can do these things when Infomark's contract has them doing web design and maintenance. If they can't do a simple thing like add a page, then we need to reconsider what's in Infomark's contract, because there's so much in there they don't do already.
Infomark, the contract was for the previous websites, and Touchstone took over the website after that contract was signed.
Right, and I noticed in the bills and invoices, or in the check register I was looking at recently, it was in those batch of invoices that you'll see when I send you my notes. Touchstone does have that contract now and is doing the website, yet Infomark renewed our GoDaddy license for 10 years and bought 5 more email addresses through them. So if we know Touchstone is managing our web presence, then why on earth did Infomark renew that web license for the old product?
I think GoDaddy is the URL. Isn't that what that was?
Yes.
That was to renew WTCMUD1.org.
They don't own the domain.
Yeah, that was just paying for the domain for the next decade.
I see.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and it makes sense that Infomark was the one who took care of that.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. I need to look at that much closer.
Okay, any more discussion? I'll go ahead and call the vote. Linda?
I vote yes.
Art?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
I vote yes too. Okay, so next agenda item. Okay, 7, policy regarding enforcement of single-family residential use restrictions. Okay, and this is agenda item 7. Did we have a special something? Nope, but no 7s. Okay. So who's going to take over this one? Is this you, Beth, or is this Bill?
Well, Bill, as of this afternoon, we were going to table this, correct?
Well, let me explain to the board where we're at, and then we can decide if any action can be taken tonight. Really, 7 and 8 go together, and
Yes.
we talked about this last week, and we indicated we were still looking, as a committee, we're looking at not just the proposed use on Beach Nut Trace, but the policy regarding single-family use restrictions in general. It's actually a pretty complicated, difficult task to develop a comprehensive policy. So we were focusing on the use on Beach Nut Trace as I won't say unique, but a use that can be put in a specific category. So we could analyze as a committee as to how we treat that category. And the category that Megan had found that we were pursuing an analysis of are boarding houses that come under Chapter 260 of the Health and Safety Code. And just very briefly, that code provision addresses boarding houses for people 65 and older and disabled. It's not completely disabled where you get disability benefits. It lists the types of disability. And so we thought perhaps this is what the use is going to be, and this will give us some foundation to draw up a policy on it. There's 2 problems that have occurred. One is it's very difficult to get a lot done between meetings when the meetings are so frequent. So we were kind of ambitious about, mostly on my part, I guess, how much time we'd be able to spend to this task before this next meeting, because here's the next meeting and we're getting ready for the next meeting, other things intervene. And that's just a function of having time to do it. But also we've been in communication with the attorney for the owner, indicating that we're just trying to confirm the use. In particular, would they come under this category under Chapter 260 of Health and Safety Code? And so far we don't have a definitive answer. There's communication back and forth. The last response was that the owner was traveling. They were going to try to get us something by the end of the day. Today it didn't happen. So I don't know we're in a position to make a recommendation as a committee on that particular use. And so I think we're going to have to bump this to another agenda.
Okay.
And we can talk about, at the end, we can talk about when the next meeting is going to be and so forth, but I don't think we have enough information and we haven't had enough time to analyze it to make a recommendation. Does that sound accurate, Megan and Beth? I tried to give the board a little more background as to where we are.
No, I think that was perfect. I mean, Megan, if you have something else to say, but I think that was perfect on what you said.
Yep. Yeah, we're trying to be really thoughtful about this. It's not something that we want to be flippant about. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, with that said, I'm going to jump to agenda item 9, Texas 87th Legislative Session Update. And Bill, that's you.
Okay, so let me tell you the process we go through, and then to the extent, as much time as you want to spend on it tonight, we can, or we can, you guys can read the summaries and we can have it on another agenda. So what we do first is we try to determine which bills have actually passed both houses and are on their way to the governor that may impact the district, in particular this district, with an eye to the fact that some of them will be applicable, some won't, and so forth. The governor, I think he vetoed 20 bills, and only one of them was on my list that applied to districts. So we didn't really wait for the final decision, but the governor had till just 3 days ago to veto or approve. So we accumulated all that data, and then we looked at all the bills that might have some applicability, and then we create a summary. And that's the summary that I provided, agenda item 9, part 1. That's the summary for districts. And I'll go through that in a second. But after, even late today, I found one other bill to add to it, which is House Bill 692. And it pertains to retainage on construction contracts. And so I'll be updating this, and occasionally we get other input from other people that have done summaries. So the goal right now is to make sure we found everything that might apply to the best of our ability. And then the second part of it is to summarize it like we've done in this memo, so that it gives you an idea of kind of what the bill says, what the big points in the bill might be. And on some of these, we don't have a lot of description because we don't think they're really major issues for the district. But then the third part is more difficult, is to take that bill, the detail, and then apply it to what changes. What do you have to change in procedures? How are these laws affecting you? What's the impact of them? And some of them will only apply when you get to that circumstance. For example, something that deals with contracts are only going to be relevant when you have a contract, and so on and so forth. And so I don't know if you want me to do a screen share on it, Catherine, or how you want to address this.
That's
you want
fine.
to do screen share?
Yeah,
let me see if I can do that.
share.
Hold on.
By doing a screen share, it becomes part of the recording for the meeting, correct?
Yes, it does.
Yes, that's what I like.
All right, so this was the update that I made part of the packet, agenda item 9, part 1. And again, found House Bill 692 that's not on here, but it deals with retainage on contracts. So let me go through this fairly quickly. And if anybody has a question, just stop me when we're on that particular bill so we don't have to circle back, and I'll try to get through this fast. So we put in some categories: open governments, general category. And so we have Senate Bill 1225. We put the effective dates in here because that is important, when it goes into effect, so you can prepare for it. This amended the government code, and this deals with open records. And so you'll recall going through the pandemic process, the administrative office was closed, and the AG agreed with us that the way the law was written, the administrative office was closed. The deadlines did not run. The deadlines to respond, the deadlines to request an AG opinion. And we had a fair number of open records requests, and so we had to utilize that law. This bill, Senate Bill 1225, changes the law, so you can no longer use that as the reason for not responding. If you have the ability to access the records remotely, doesn't matter that the administrative office is closed. So this is a product of, complaints about the existing law and how that worked. And so this will apply to open records starting effective September 1 of this year. The next bill is House Bill 872, which is something I'm sure Catherine will applaud, and probably the rest of you too, is it makes certain additional information confidential, utility information, including anything you collect from advanced metering system. That's the electronic meters that transmit data or provide data. But also, probably more importantly, it reverses the utilities code provision where instead of having to request confidentiality, it's automatically confidential unless you request to disclose it. So that's a really good change. It's actually effective now. It was effective when the governor signed it on June 18. And so eventually we'll change the information we provide to our customers on confidentiality. It will be reversed. And that's actually a very good thing.
I'm going to stop you there, Bill.
Yes.
Go back. This does not make the entire utility record confidential. Is that correct? Not everything in the record is confidential. Is that correct?
Everything, no, but the same things that they could request confidentiality are now automatically confidential.
Which
so
are
in personal information and the account record related to volume or utility usage or amounts billed or collected.
So not the entire record, just all the utility portions of the record and their name, their address.
Well, and personal information, it's kind of unusual, but the personal information does not include your name. So your name is not confidential.
Is the address?
Yes, the address, the amounts that are all billed to you and your usage and so forth. So they include social security numbers and personal information along with your address and I think it includes the phone number. I'll have to double check, but we don't collect social security information, so that's irrelevant to this district. But you're right, there may be other information that is in the account that's not protected by this, but it's not a change from the prior laws to what can be protected.
Would the billing history be confidential?
Yes. Billing history that falls into the amounts billed or collected. So yes, that would be confidential.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And there'll be more time to ask questions on these, obviously, going forward. House Bill 1082, and I'm not going to talk about every one of these in details, but some of these are more important than others. This provides for, it expanded the confidential information related to certain officials, and it related previously to peace officers and judges and so forth. They've expanded that to all elected public officers. So that includes all of our directors, and it is effective now. So, your home address and telephone number, personal family information is confidential. Now you can choose to provide it, but it's not something that people can request and get to. Taxation, we go into another category. Senate Bill 1438. This relates to what we went through last year, is this new cap on how much of an increase in the average taxes paid by a resident or an owner can you approve without triggering an election. And so developed districts are 1.03 and undeveloped districts are 1.08. There was an exception if you were in a disaster area. And a number of attorneys last year said, well, the pandemic was a disaster, and so everybody's relieved of the 1.03 cap. We didn't really follow that advice because we didn't feel it was well supported. But now we have a new law that says, disasters do count, and they carved out pandemics. So pandemics don't count, but the other disasters do. And the governor on February 12th of this year issued a disaster declaration in response to the severe winter weather. And so that raises the question is, does that disaster count? And would everyone be relieved of that cap? That's a legal question that we'll explore with your other experts, but it does raise something that needs discussion, because it looks like the new law probably does include the winter weather disaster declaration, which would mean at least for 1 year, you wouldn't be subject to the cap. And that'll affect your budget, it'll affect almost everything you do in connection with your tax rate. So we'll look into that with your other experts, your bond attorney and your financial advisor, see if they agree with that. Again, we're just looking at it now, so I don't have a definitive answer, but I want to raise it. A lot of these other things are pretty minor, so I'll go fast. Senate Bill 742 just talks about installment payments of taxes in a disaster area. Again, we were in all disaster areas, so maybe it applies. House Bill 1869, it defines debt, and more precisely, which really only come up when you're talking about your bonds. 296, Senate Bill 296 relates to resale or exemption certificates, and the minor change is the number of days you have to deliver certificates to the seller. So this district is exempt from sales tax, so we provide exemption certificates. The key there is that you just make sure you provide them as soon as possible. House Bill 988, this was a curious one. It's provided for a criminal offense if a member of the governing body, which would be you as directors, an officer or employee, if we talk to the chief appraiser or somebody at the appraisal district to influence the value of property, unless it's property you own. And so this means you can't go talk to the appraisal district about values at all. You shouldn't be talking to them at all directly. I actually had a case where I did go with a director to talk years ago to talk about someone who was protesting their values because we felt that the person was being dishonest. Now that would be a crime. Wasn't a crime before. House Bill 3629 just deals with deferral of taxes, the elderly or disabled person. Again, some of these you have to look at to see what the details are. 1410, House Bill 1410 just deals with issuance bonds. Again, they'll only apply when you issue bonds. House Bill 3833 is appraisal of certain real property. It's a subset of property, how they can appraise it. Moving on to cybersecurity, House Bill 1118, which is effective now. It doesn't really change your training requirements necessarily, but it expands it to include elected and appointed officials of local government, which clarifies something that we noticed before, where it just said elected. So, for example, Beth Jones was appointed, would that exempt her from that? And of course, our opinion was no, and now they've clarified that. But then they've added some penalties. If you haven't completed the cybersecurity, you may not be eligible for certain types of grants. So they're encouraging people to take this training, which you guys had to take by June 14. And I don't know if everyone has taken it, but if you didn't, you better do it quickly. Criminal law, the reason we put this in House Bill 624 is it expanded the criminal penalties for offenses committed in retaliation for a person's service or status as a public servant. So again, we haven't looked at a lot of detail, but if you're something, crime is committed and it's related to your public service, the punishments have been increased. And then we get into a bunch of contracting provisions. Again, some are only going to come up when you're entering into this type of contract. So Senate Bill 1821, it's dealing with contingent fee contracts. And right now, the only contingent fee contract you have is with your bond attorney. I believe that's the only one. And so if you were to amend that, it would come under this code provision. There are certain findings you have to make in a special process for contingent fees. The next one, House Bill 1428, actually exempts a certain type of collection contract. And it's really state obligations. House Bill 1929 relates to development agreements in the ETJ of municipalities. You don't have one of those right now because you don't have a developer. House Bill 1476, that has modified slightly the process whereby you can withhold payment on a disputed invoice and modified the process a bit. So that'll be applicable when a payment's withheld. Senate Bill 19, here we go with some prohibitions of contracting with certain companies. It used to be companies that boycott Israel, that's still out there. And this one prohibits you from contracting with companies that discriminate against firearm or ammunition industries. So we have to be looking at that. It's effective September 1. The next one is you can't have certain agreements with certain foreign-owned companies. That's effective now. I think the bill lists some companies, and I think it might include China, and there's a process to add them. So that's going to be a little bit of a concern as far as agreements. It doesn't apply to any past agreements, only going forward. And so when we do agreements, we'll have to check that off too. The next one is 799, Senate Bill 799. I don't think it applies to you, and so I made that comment in there. House Bill 2116, certain liability provisions of construction contracts. Again, only comes up in construction contracts. I think it relates mostly to liabilities of architects and engineers. Senate Bill 219 similarly relates to defects in plans and specifications. House Bill 3069, statute of limitations and repose, certain claims and improvement to real property. Again, these are all contract issues. And then House Bill 2581 and deals with certain civil works projects. And Senate Bill 997, it deals with contractual rate charge for furnishing water, raw or treated water or sewer services, a typo in that. But we have a wholesale contract with City of Cedar Park, so this may come into play. It's effective September 1. Then we just have miscellaneous topics, which I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You could read those. Most of them are pretty modest changes. We'll still have to check them. There is a provision in Senate Bill 3 that is curious. That Senate Bill 3 is the one that deals with ERCOT and electrical issues due to the failure of the grid. And it's a really aggressive bill related to electric, but it also requires water providers to have an emergency preparedness plan. And during extreme weather emergencies, you can't charge late fees or disconnect water service, and you have to work on payment plans. But, and there's a penalty from $100 to $50,000 that you might have to pay. I guess the good news is they defined extreme weather emergency is when in cold weather. So if the previous day high temperatures under 28 and they don't think that it's going to go higher for 24 hours, that's an extreme weather emergency and these things would kick in. It's effective now, but fortunately we're in the summer, so probably not going to kick in until we get into winter. Senate Bill 905 is just the introduction of the concept of putting your effluent back into your raw water supply and treating it again. Something they've been doing in California for a long time. Hasn't really happened in Texas. And this is going to have the commission put together. I think this is the health commission. They're going to put together a manual and some rules. It'll be a future thing. Next one, House Bill 4555 relates to persons filing an application for place on the ballot if they've been convicted of a felony. It's changed some of those requirements. Senate Bill 1168 has very limited application. And then there's a series of bills here relate to either annexation, which is Senate Bill 374. It's a real minor thing regarding annexation of road right-of-ways by municipalities. And then we have a few eminent domain bills that relate to either the process or appraisal reports or rights to repurchase. And then we have another deals with disclosure, Senate Bill 1338. When you have an agreement for annexation, you have to have certain disclosures. House Bill 1905 deals with regional planning groups, water planning groups. And House Bill 1514 deals with unclaimed property. There's a process now, if you have unclaimed property and you can't contact the owner, you have to eventually escheat the property escheats to the state. It goes to the comptroller. And usually for your district, that would be unclaimed customer deposits after a certain number of years. So let's change the process a little bit. And those are all the ones that I have in this update. Again, this will be a process as we look at these and recommend certain changes as they come up. Also, if anyone's interested, I have copies of all these bills, and I can email you a copy of the bill, any of them or all of them upon request. Just let me know. Just let Allison know. We'll put it together for you if you want to read the bill. And some of them you might want to. Let me stop there. Anybody have any questions on this update? Because I have one more brief update to present.
I don't have any.
Okay. Let me stop sharing for a minute, and then I'm going to bring up another document. All right. Let's see. All right, can everyone see the update on homeowner associations and condominiums?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was part 2 of agenda item number 9 that I provided in the packet. I'll give you a little background for the new director. The reason I'm presenting this is virtually every legislative update, I present the HOA, deed restriction enforcement, condo provisions to the board because we enforce deed restrictions. And even though these do not directly relate to the district, they do relate to how deed restrictions are enforced by homeowner associations and some of the prohibitions on enforcement. For example, in the past, political signage, there was a provision there on enforcement against political signage. And the district decided that even though it didn't say the MUDs couldn't enforce it, we followed that model, and we essentially enforce like HOAs. So we have one this time that's significant, Senate Bill 581, which is also part of Senate Bill 1588. It got passed in 2 different bills. This particular provision, one's effective now, one's effective September 1, but they say the same. So that means this provision in 581's effective now. And what it deals with is religious symbols. And so an owner displaying religious symbols for sincerely held religious beliefs, there are very few restrictions you can place on those now. It used to be the provision in chapter 202 of the property code was you only had to allow a small space about 2 inches by 5 inches on the doorway. Now it can be on any part of the land. It can't be dangerous. It can't be in a setback, and there's some other provisions. It can't be attached to traffic control devices, can't be in the right of way, and so forth. But for the most part, they're going to be permitted, and so that's going to be a new issue for enforcement that's going to come up probably fairly soon. Senate Bill 1588 is what you would call the omnibus HOA condo bill, where they threw a whole bunch of things in there, and it did pass. And it's effective September 1, except for the provision regarding filings with the Real Estate Commission, which the district will not get involved in that. First part applies to condos and homeowner associations that incorporated the Senate Bill 581, religious displays that we just talked about, and also deals with swimming pool enclosures and limits the regulations on those. A lot of the next part is really security measures. So this is a change again where owners will be able to install certain security measures, equipment, and HOAs won't be able to stop them. And a POA would not be able to enforce certain restrictions. That deals with security cameras. It does deal with certain lighting, and also they have in there a perimeter fence, and that's going to take some interpretation as to whether that perimeter fence can be within the building setback or not. And then there's a lot of here I'm going to skip over. You can read for yourself, and certainly if you're part of a association, you're listening, you can get with your attorney. And I'm not trying to give legal advice to other entities, but they made it more difficult to report people to credit bureaus. They made it more difficult to collect your attorney fees. You have more procedures you have to go through. Who can serve on a mandatory association, ACC, they limit people. And just a whole bunch of other things that relate to homeowner association operation I won't go into. Senate Bill 30 is a process for removal of discriminatory language in recorded conveyance instruments. There's still some old deed restrictions out there that have things that are actually prohibited by federal law that might be race discrimination or other types of discrimination. This is just a process for how it can be removed. Again, not something we would get into as a district. House Bill 2205 amends the health and safety code on pool construction. So that would be something an ACC might look at, but not the district necessarily. 1514, we already talked about, is unclaimed property. I included it here because HOAs often have unclaimed construction deposits. And then the security measure, again, at House Bill 3571. And 1659 really doesn't apply. Condos now have to have more policies regarding records, production, and retention, more like a mandatory association. Does not have anything to do with the money. So again, I present this for purposes of deed restriction enforcement, so we see what might be prohibited for an HOA so that the board can decide if they want to follow it, which historically we have, which basically would be religious symbols and security devices, measures would be things we'd be looking out for that we might not be able to, or not want to enforce against. So I'm gonna stop there. Any questions on this? This is meant to be a very minor presentation.
Thank you for putting that together, Bill.
Sure. All right. And so Catherine, there's no action item on that.
Right.
I'll update my memos if I get more information. And we
Okay.
we look at other, I looked at AWBD today, and that's where I found that additional bill. Otherwise, we've kind of covered everything they had, and we look at other people's summaries, and we'll ask your bond attorney if he can provide his. And it's just it's a process in the early weeks to make sure we found everything and then apply it.
Okay. So just a question, there was like the HOAs and they're talking about security. Would it mean like if the HOA had rules against floodlights or something like that, they could no longer prohibit them? Is that what we're talking about security?
Yeah, that's one thing. If you say floodlights, if the owner could show that it's there for security purposes, they'd have a good argument for keeping it under this new statute.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, some of these are going to be probably objectionable to neighbors, but there's indication there that they want people to be able to have the security measures at their house that they feel they need. And again, there'll be some debate as to what falls into that category, including that perimeter fence provision as to whether it's going to allow fences in the front yards.
Oh, that's what they're talking about. Yes, because all of our deed restrictions say fences can't go beyond the front of the house.
Yeah, and that's going to be something to look at, whether the building setback applies, certainly side setbacks and, you can't go, obviously can't go off the property line, but whether a person could put a fence now on the perimeter of their lot under that statute is something we'll be looking at.
Okay, well, we all grew up in the 50s of the white picket fences that went around the corner, that went all the way around.
No,
Okay.
that wasn't a security fence really. That was something
No.
more extreme. Yeah.
Well, okay. Number 10, request for qualifications for general counsel. So this was really meant to be part of an update, and then I'm going to ask, I'll make a motion. So Art and I have been meeting, and we're still working on doing the RFQ. And as I'm working through the process, I feel a need to be talking to legal counsel, but I can't because, Bill had, immediately disqualified himself because, he's going to be responding to the RFQ. So I reached out to Clark Richards and explained the situation. And I said, I need to have somebody that I can talk to if I have a procedural question. And he said, and I asked if he would do it. And he says, I will make somebody available from my office. So that is really what I'm asking for is I'm asking, I'm going to make a motion to seek permission to, if I, as part of putting the RFQ together for general counsel, to speak to somebody at the Clark Richards office. If I feel a need, I need some guidance someplace. So, Art, do you have anything to add?
No, you said it all.
Okay.
Are you making
Okay.
a motion?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead. I'm going to make a motion to authorize the management committee, which is Art and I, to, as we're working on the RFQ for general counsel, to be able to reach out to the Clark Richards firm if I have any legal questions that I encounter in the process of developing the RFQ.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so now let's have a discussion. So, anybody have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm curious what kind of legal questions you could have about developing the qualifications for an attorney.
Well, I tell you, I tell you, Linda, I really felt that I was like, I'm going through this process, and then I'm going, well, I really like to ask Bill about the process and how I should go about doing this, and it's like, I can't do that. And so it was more of a sense of I might not need it, but if I reach a point where I don't know how to proceed, because I'll be quite honest, I've never done an RFQ before. I've done many RFPs, and I want to make sure that I get it right, and I want to make sure that Bill or Art and I, we've talked about it. We're really want to make sure that what we put out there is deemed to be a balanced, and it doesn't seem like it is slanted in any one way. So that's really the reason I want to be able to ask for help, so to speak.
Well, why are you not using your general manager for that? Because this isn't a legal matter, it's an administrative matter. It's like a job description. You don't need a lawyer to do that for you.
We might not use them, Linda, but for the scope, for the elements that are going to be defined, maybe we wanted to seek, it's kind of if we need a legal expert to show us what would be defined in the contract, and Infomark doesn't know. They have helped us with some of it, but we just don't want to leave a stone unturned or do something that's not, what's the word? Where we miss out on the qualifications.
Well, here's the thing. That would make sense to me when you were trying to develop a contract. But to define the qualifications, I think it is absolutely the wrong direction to ask an attorney to define the requirements of an attorney. You should be able to define the requirements for this district, and the water code will help you with that. And your general manager should be able to help you with that. And if
Well, we
they
have.
cannot help
We
you
have.
define the general requirements of the attorney for the district, then we have a bigger problem.
We have
Can we make a
defined it.
motion,
but-
please?
Go ahead, Beth.
No, because it sounds like what we're trying to do is make a motion instead of arguing.
No, we're not making them.
Motion's
no, we
already
do-
been made. We're
Yeah, I made a
discussing.
motion and I think Art seconded it. So now we're just talking. That's all. That's what we're doing right now.
But we did make a motion, that's right. We did.
Yeah.
So I just would really like to understand why you're not using your administrative resources to do an administrative function.
We have. This is just in case we need some legal expertise in the RFQ.
Right.
You will need
Like I
that in the
said-
contract, but not in the qualifications.
Well, I don't know if I totally agree with that because I really felt that if we had gone through with the RFQ for the engineering, that we would have probably been talking with Bill about it, about the process. Do you agree with me, Art?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Well, Bill would have been handling the process because that RFQ was written where he collected anybody who wanted to apply for it. So yes, he would have been involved in that process, but he wasn't involved at all in my development of that RFQ. I can take a look at what work is being done and define the requirements. I would think you would be able to, after all these years, Catherine, you can't define what the attorney does for the district?
I honestly think it's the more I've delved into it, I think it's way more complicated than I really thought it was going to be. Do you agree with me, Art?
I'd like
I
to
do-
see
well,
what you come up with
It's
if
not
you're
that
finding
it's
it so
complicated because we're
complicated.
asking for qualifications. We're asking for qualifications. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I want, okay. So with that being said, we want somebody in the legal arena to kind of say, well, you missed this or you missed that or something. And we can take it from experience with Bill because we do have a lot of years with Bill doing this, but still, it's good to kind of have a second look from somebody who knows.
Well, how
And that's
about
all
if
we're
you
saying.
ask Christie to pull
Can
some
we take a
RFQs
vote?
from our other districts? Rather than spending more legal money to get an opinion for an administrative task from a lawyer. That is just, it just doesn't track with me. Not even a little bit.
I don't perceive this as a legal opinion because a legal opinion seems like a very lofty,
That's toward its case.
involved. I'm looking to be able to have a 15-minute conversation, if that makes any sense.
I just think you're using the wrong resource for the wrong
Did
job.
Did we answer your question, Linda? And if so, can we take a vote so we can keep moving on?
No, my question has not been answered, but thanks for asking. I'm telling you, I think you're using the wrong resources for an administrative task. And I'm thinking that RFQs are not complicated at all. It defines the qualifications of the person and the work that you're looking to get done. And you have a 7-year history personally, Catherine and Art, in this district working with Bill. You can't define the qualifications of that job.
Well,
But I've never done an
Art
RFQ
just
for
explained
legal.
to you.
Yeah.
Art
And I
just
don't-
explained
I
to you
don't
what he
think
was
there's
looking for.
anything wrong with a director wanting to make sure that they have the resources they need to do their job correctly. And when I do anything that I'm doing for the district, I like to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. And sometimes that means asking Bill a question, even if it's a silly question. And if they need a resource and they feel like they need a legal resource to make sure that they're doing their job correctly, issuing an RFQ, which there is a specific process and they haven't done before, I don't think that that's being irresponsible. I think that that's appropriate. And I don't think they're asking for 10 hours. of
We
just-
may not use it, but we
Right.
like to know that we have that resource available if we need it.
They don't have their
That's why
usual
we're coming to the board.
bill.
Then
So,
let's vote.
okay, so I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Then Linda,
I vote no, and for the record, using the wrong type of resource for an administrative task.
okay, Art,
I vote yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and I vote yes too. Okay, oh, we're on the home run here. Okay. Number 11, minutes from prior regular and special meetings. Okay, we got minutes to approve.
So there are 3 sets that are carryover from last week. February 24, May 19, and May 26 are the attachment for item 11.
Okay. Okay, Beth, did you have any issues with any of the minutes? That you wanted to push back?
Actually, I do. I don't agree with what, I don't have it in front of me, but I saw the comment on there of what David Flores had put in the first part of the minutes. And for the record, I wish I had it in front of me, but at no time did I ever say that I was for one side or the other. But I do believe that when we
Okay,
hire
so-
people, that, you know,
It doesn't
Okay.
change the minutes.
Well,
we
yeah,
need to.
well, I guess what I wanted to,
I don't agree with what was said. It wasn't honest. It was not an honest comment.
But where is it? Do you know exactly where it is? In the minutes?
It's the
Meeting
public comments on the February 24th minutes.
Okay.
You can't change the comments of the public. You don't have to like them.
well, I
Well,
thought
you
that
lie about it, it's kind of a little bit off.
Okay, so here it is. David Flores addressed the board with a public comment. He expressed disappointment with how Director Jones had conducted herself at the last meeting and said she works for the district's vendors rather than for the people. He suggested she remember the oath that she took and that the vendors work for the people. Is that the statement you're
Yes.
objecting to?
Absolutely, that's the statement that I disagree with.
Okay,
That doesn't
but it's a
change the
public
minutes.
statement.
Is it,
I get-
Beth,
That I was not-
might be the way that it's written. It sounds like maybe the issue is how that sentence is phrased, because then it sounds like Beth is the one who said that she works for the vendors and not the people. So it's not the content so much as maybe the way that the sentence is phrased makes it sound like Beth said that, whereas that's what David said.
Didn't it start out with David's opinion?
He expressed disappointment with how Director Jones had conducted herself at the last meeting and said she works for the district's vendors rather than the people.
Okay, that's his opinion.
And that's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean,
That's not the part I think Beth is having an issue with. I think it's because the way the sentence is phrased in the minutes makes it sound like Beth said she works for the vendors and not the people. Which of
well
course,
then let's go ahead and let's just review that public comment and see if we can't wordsmith it better.
yeah, it's just the phrasing. No one's trying to change the content or what David's opinion is. I think I think Beth is worried that it sounds like she said.
If I could interrupt briefly, I think that Lee listened to the recording and that those are the words that David said.
yeah, those are straight recordings.
If that's
so-
the case, the statement is accurate because it's something David said.
Yeah,
Right,
no, I'm not
You
trying
can object
change
to
the
it,
comment.
but it's the minutes.
I think if you added and David said she works for the district's vendors, then it would be clear that Beth didn't say she works for the district's vendors. I think it's just a phrasing thing, not the way the sentence is formatted, not the content. You see what I'm
So
saying?
instead of putting, he expressed disappointment in how Director Jones conducted herself at the last meeting and said that and David said that she works for the district vendors rather than the people.
And David said, yep, that would just put the name
Can we
in.
approve the minutes with that being inserted in there?
Does that sound?
I mean, if the board believes that to be accurate statement for the minutes, yes, you can approve it with that change.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't, Beth never said, I work for the vendors, not the people, right?
Well, I don't get that here, but
Well, and I understand the
what I get here
concern,
is
but
that David's pure opinion.
I read it as David's opinion.
yeah, I understand the concern, but David was speaking, Beth wasn't speaking during that time, so I don't know that it's that confusing, but inserting a few words, if the board wants to insert those words that don't change the meaning, then they can approve that.
Obviously, I'm not Beth. That's what, when I read it, I was wondering if that's what Beth was concerned about, that it wasn't clear that.
Correct.
I mean, if Lee put it on here, I mean, I'm just being objective here. From reading this, no way indicates to me that Beth indicated that she's sides with the vendor, works for the vendor. It's strictly David's opinion. That's it. That's the way I read it. I don't know about you, Catherine.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like it's David's
Anybody
opinion.
else?
That's how I read it.
So,
It just needs to be
So-
worded differently.
and I mean, well, I think Beth, you got a good point. You object to it, and I agree with you, but we can't change David's opinion. And I guess these are the minutes that were actually,
Or his
As
words, if
long as it
we
says
went
that
back and
David's
reviewed
opinion
his words.
instead of, because the way that it says right now is that I work for them and not for the people, where it needs to say that David's opinion is,
Well, it does say that actually. It does make
yeah, I
it
mean,
clear
he
that it's
expressed
David's opinion.
disappointment. That's his opinion right there on how Director Jones conducted herself in the last meeting. And said she works for the district. I guess, I know you're concerned with that rather than the people. He suggested she remember the oath. So, I mean, to me, it's strictly his opinion, Beth, but I mean, Lee, is that the way you heard it on the video?
That's the gist of what he said. It's not an exact transcription, but that's the general phrasing of the comment.
So, can we approve this or not?
Lee, did you make the other corrections I gave you for the February 24th meeting minutes?
I did.
Okay, because what Bill had attached to the agenda didn't have those corrections.
I did not send in a new copy to be distributed.
I see, thank you.
All right.
Well, are we
so-
ready I didn't see the May ones. I don't have the May ones done.
I didn't see him
You sent
either.
those separately, didn't you, Lee?
I sent the May ones prior to the meeting last week, and Mr. Flickinger put them in the packet for last week's meeting.
That's how I missed them. They weren't a separate email.
Yeah,
I
so
apologize. I haven't reviewed the May ones, but I reviewed every other one you sent.
yeah,
All
all
right,
I
can
did,
we-
all I did was put the drafts from last week that you didn't approve. I put them in this packet. That's all I did.
All I saw was February 24th attached.
Yeah, that's all I have too.
Really?
Yeah, it was the last attachment on the meeting invite.
Oh, okay, I'll look at it. I
All right,
intended,
so for
I have a
February
copy with all of
24th,
them.
can we approve these minutes?
The only one that he had on tonight's agenda packet was the February 24th.
I have all of
Yeah.
them. If you keep scrolling, they're all in there.
Yeah, I think they're all together. They're not separate. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
item 11 is one, it's one PDF, but there's 3 minutes if you keep going. So
Okay, I didn't attend the May 26th, so I have to abstain from approving that one.
so May 19, Linda, starts on
Oh, I
page
see it.
10 of the PDF. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's attached to the bottom. I didn't scroll that far because I'd already done the February 24th. So I don't have an opinion for the May 19th and the other one that follows because I haven't reviewed them. I knew there were some outstanding. I just couldn't remember what the dates were.
Did you all want, sorry.
I'm sorry, but the February 24th looked fine. If you've made my changes there, I'm fine with it.
Did you all want that change?
I motion to approve the minutes from February 24th, 2021.
Do you all want that change made in the comment?
If you want to put David in there, yeah, include David's opinion.
Yeah, Megan, the way that you said it was
Thank you.
best. Yeah.
Okay, so if we include David's opinion on the public comment, can we approve these minutes? I motion to approve this minute.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. I'll go ahead and call the vote. Linda,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Beth,
Yeah.
I vote yes. Okay. Somebody
Did
make a
anybody
motion.
else review the May minutes?
I did them I did all the ones from last time. But I already gave.
I didn't attend the May 26th one. I don't, that's the only one. I don't see May, oh, here it is, May 19th. Okay.
Yeah, I need to review them against my notes. I can't just read over them and assume that they're correct.
Has anybody else reviewed May 19th?
I reviewed them last week.
Okay.
Did you see anything, Megan?
Well, whatever comments I had, I gave to Lee last week. So, and I didn't read them again after the second time.
Lee, can you send us whatever you've got updated so far and let us start from there? For those 2 May minutes so that, I don't have to repeat.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so do we have any more minutes then to review?
Did we catch up with you now, Lee?
I still have March outstanding and last week's meeting outstanding.
Okay,
But
we've
those
got
are the only 2 left.
March 31st was reviewed and approved.
This is March 17th.
Do we
That's
have
still
that?
outstanding. No, not yet. And June 16th should be upcoming soon as well.
So March 17th and June 16th. Okay. Outstanding. And plus the 2 ones in May.
So what are we going to approve today?
Just the 24th, I guess.
Just the one, yeah.
February
Okay,
24th.
so I motioned, somebody second, I know that.
We already did.
Yeah, we already took care of it.
We already
So
voted.
yeah, so now agenda item 12, future meetings. So the next meeting is the DRC. Okay, so then the next July meeting, the next regular first board meeting, hopefully, I'm just going to say, let's put something on the board meeting for the budget committee, because I'm hoping, I'm really thinking happy thoughts and being optimistic that we might be able to, that we might have some more information to share as it relates to getting the appraised values in, et cetera, et cetera.
You're saying for the end of July meeting?
No, I'm the regular meeting.
Can you tell me what day that is?
Yeah, let's see. Let's make sure we all agree. The meetings in July are going to be the week of the 19th for the DRC and the 21st for the first regular board meeting. And then the second meeting will be the 28th.
Perfect.
Are we all agreeing with that?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're saying budget stuff would be on the committee one or the regular?
I'm gonna say I would like to have the budget, the budget on every agenda moving forward because we don't know when things are going to be coming in, and I want to be able to talk about it. Like I said, I'm thinking happy thoughts that things are going to come in sooner rather than later, and we'll be able to present things. Now remember, hopefully by the meeting on the 21st, any requests that need to go into the budget from infrastructure, parks committee, waste management, whatever, those will already have been sent to Michael Luft.
Okay, so wait.
So you're saying for July 21st and July 28th, you want a budget item on the agenda?
Yeah.
Not the DRC though, right?
Not the DRC, no. So, and then we'll do the same again in August, because by then, I just want to make sure that that we don't find ourselves, oh, something came in early and we can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there's going to be a lot of number crunching that Linda and I are going to be doing, and for us to be coming up with with a recommendation on, how to handle the, some of the reorg that we're going to be attempting to tackle this time around.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, guys, I'm really tired. My shoulder is killing me. I'm
Okay,
going to
I
move.
motion to adjourn this meeting.
Yes, yes, you're reading my mind there. I will second
Catherine,
that.
Just to say I am home.
Oh, okay.
Just to give you a good laugh. Just to give you a good laugh. How far
Okay.
I've traveled since we started this.
Okay, everybody say aye one at a time. For
No, we got to do
Allison.
it by name because then Lee won't
Okay,
know.
Linda,
Aye.
Art,
Aye.
Megan,
Yes.
Beth.
Aye.
I vote aye too. It was good seeing you guys. I will be in contact with you, Linda.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Aye, y'all.